Got a busy show for you today because Garry Debrick is in the studio.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Very good indeed, thank you. Morning, everybody.
Wow, lots of machines today.
Again, as we normally do, lots of toys for us to have a play with on there.
A lot. This is very, very, very exciting for me. Before we even begin, let's just explain who you are. Who you are, what's your name, where did you come from?
Where am I from? Where have I appeared from on there?
Yes.
My name's Garry. I'm from Juki UK, Juki Sewing Machines on there, all part of the Franklin's group.
Yes.
So on that. 37 years within the business now. So
now you started as an engineer, and this is where it's exciting because Garry is not just a salesman or anything like that. You're actually an engineer.
Yes, thank you.
You've had your head in all of these more times than...
Oh, very, very much so. That's the great thing about being, obviously working for Juki, being involved with Juki. We don't just sell boxes.
No.
We've actually been to the factories, we've been to the meetings, we've been to design systems.
Yes.
We actually get involved with the inside of the machines as well as the outside of the machines.
There are very few people that can say that, which is why we love to have Garry on the show. So get your questions in. If you have any questions about Juki, then please do get your questions in. Now, here at Natasha Makes, we are very, very privileged to be, apart from Franklin's, the only other supplier of open-boxed Jukis.
Absolutely, yeah, obviously.
Now, what does that mean?
Right, so obviously we've worked together for many years.
Many years,
brilliant.
yes.
Obviously, you're a big Juki fan, using all your Jukis as well. So open box machines, basically, they are still complete as new, full warranty still. Some of them have been used for maybe an hour.
Yep.
On that, obviously, we travel around doing other exhibitions and obviously displays out there as well. So
they'll have been in a van, taken
van,
into an exhibition hall.
used by me.
Yep.
On that, or say one of our other salespeople on there. So not out for actually public use at all.
Yep.
So no, they're not from our classrooms or anything like that.
Right.
So they are, some would say, some of them are actually virtually brand new because they've just been out actually on display. But other than that, then they've just been run in. We've tried them, we've tested them.
If they've been out of the box, that's the thing. It's the equivalent of driving a car off a forecourt. There's that depreciation the minute those tyres touch the road that isn't forecourt.
That's exactly it.
And so that's what we've got here, is basically brand new machines that have been taken out of the box. So Juki, being honest, good people, because you could stick them back in the box and get full whack.
Like a couple of machines I've got out here at the moment, you can see it's actually even still got the packing tapes and that on there as well. That's
not been used at all.
And that's why we are selling them as brand new as well. So the full warranty, absolutely everything.
But they do have a discount because that seal on that box has been broken.
Yes.
So you get to benefit from that. So apart from Franklin's themselves, if you find them at a show or something like that, it's the only other way you're going to get a machine like this. And I really respect Franklin's for doing this because I demonstrate these on Crate and Craft like you do, and places like that, and have done for many years. And Lawrence, head of the business, said to me, I want to do something special for you, Natasha, because we don't have flexi pay and all those sorts of things that the big channels can do. So it's like, I'm going to do something really special for you. And so we appreciate that, and you guys get to benefit as our viewers. The beautiful thing is that Juki will take care of your machine once you have it, when it needs servicing. And I don't know another company that if you have a problem with the machine, you can ring them on FaceTime and have a FaceTime consultation with an engineer.
Very much so.
To find in my case, when I had to do it, really simple switch that I hadn't flicked on my Overlocker. And I'm like, why is it not doing the thing I needed to do? Flick the switch. But unless I'd been on FaceTime, we wouldn't have got to that point to realise that it was simply a switch I hadn't flicked.
Well, we know there's some companies out there which will just say, "I'll just send the box back to us," and you've got to then sort out packaging, you've got to sort out returns. It's costing you money as well, and things like that. We should all be under warranty.
If you can actually get hold of them in the first place.
There is that side as
Gemma has a sewing machine at home that is still sitting there, and it basically had perished. And she could not get hold of the seller at all. So she has a useless machine. She's now upgraded to an NX because of us.
So that's exactly it. And obviously from there as well, and that's the great thing about it. Again, dealing with yourself, obviously you know these machines as well. You use these machines every day. You answer a lot of these questions, so it can easily be sorted. But as you say, the after-sale service that we give, we've got FaceTime, and it's not just one place either. Obviously, we've got many shops.
Yeah.
We've got classrooms spread around as well. So
Yeah.
we have engineers, we have tutors, we have advisors.
It's brilliant.
So that
Absolutely
is the
brilliant.
thing. There is many people you can speak to for the help, for the advice.
Yes.
Obviously, we want to keep you sewing, and we're there to look after you.
Message in. Anything that you want to ask. I know that Jan's already put a message on Facebook for me to ask. That's absolutely fine. We'll get to it. Before we get to that, however, Garry, today is a very exciting day for any Tula pink fans because we launched Tabby Road.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely.
So if you are a Tabby Cat fan, well, I mean any fan, then here we go. We have got for you, and I'm just going to run through this very, very, very quickly. We have got, and these are brand new in today, we've got Tabby Road, kind of think Andy Warhol in Pussycat food form.
Absolutely.
And you would not be far wrong from that. If you would like all the colours, so Tula has a very specific colour palette. We now have the stripe. Very exciting day, Garry. Cat's eyes as the ultimate blender. I'm going to put that way so that you can see these. Tomorrow, by the way, we've got a mega fabric launch of all sorts of things, so we will recap these in more detail. I'm not going to hang about on this a lot today because we don't get Garry very often and we want to make the most of him. I know you guys have already been buying these this morning. If you want the full collection that I have picked, I didn't buy everything, but if you want my collection, there is a special offer on that for you. And here is the tabby of said Tabby Road. I'm a big fan of a tabby.
Absolutely.
I've got a ginger one and a dark tabby. Naughty Morty is generally evidenced, and Mortimer and Malcolm is far more elusive. Big tabby, little tabby. And then what have we got on here? Oh, this is just a really beautiful blender. You think until you see there's the mouse.
That is a hidden mouse, absolutely.
But that's what
pointed out is
Tula Pink does. She hides things in plain sight. And so you've got, say, your tabby balls, but you've got your cat balls. That's not sounding any better. Cat toys. Cat toys. Cat toys. And then fur balls. Again, that doesn't sound any better, but that is what it's called. Fur balls, which is a fabulous blender and a great alternative to your normal spot, slightly furry balls. I'm going to shut up and hand back over to Garry before we get taken off air so early on in the day. So, and the only other thing I would say is that because I knew this was coming and because, you know, I like matchy stuff where I can. I'm very sad, Garry, because my daughter is now of an age where I can't quite get away with matchy stuff with her.
No, listen, you're not allowed to dress her so much now. It's
no.
Like, Mum, again, why?
I know. And can we do face masks together? I'm just like, you're 5 with the most beautiful skin I've ever seen. Go away. But you know. Right. They are available. Raw, the dinosaur one, is on special offer, special clearance price. I have got some zips very, very quickly. I've got a rainbow one with a star. I've got this pinky one, which goes, it's a pinky blue one. You're going to have a look on the website because I haven't got time to look through this all, but it goes so beautifully with fur balls, and it's got a rainbow paw zip pull. I have surpassed myself, Garry. And then this one has got, I have got this here, this has got a dinosaur rainbow zip pull for anybody that would like a dinosaur rainbow zip pull to go with the last of the Raw, which was a dinosaur-based fabric collection.
To go with that
one,
absolutely.
Yeah. And then the other thing, if you want to be making your own key rings, key fobs, I have got lots of tiny tassels to go with your key fobs, and also in there, little tiny swivel clips as well. So you could be making lovely lanyards and key rings.
Anything like that. Lanyards, sort of bags, clip-on shoulder bags, anything like that.
Oh, make to sell. And those colours will go with that. So there's a reason all of these are on today's show. I'm limited in number of those, but if you want them, grab them and enjoy. Right, Garry Debrick. I'm going to go and sit in the corner. I've lost my coffee. I don't know where it is, but I'm going to go and sit in the corner, be quiet-ish. I can't promise that entirely, and
Well,
let you crack on.
There'll be lots of questions coming, as we say. Any questions on there, again, whether it's to do with the Juki sewing machines, please do. Obviously, sewing questions as well.
There
Advice.
a silly question?
Absolutely not.
Because
We all know there's any question to one person is going to be different to another
that's
person.
it.
Absolutely.
And
on
probably everybody's had a think about it.
Yes.
And yeah, there isn't a silly question. I remember asking once, why can I not sew in a straight line? Turns out it was my machine kept pulling to the left.
Yeah.
And actually, the more people I speak to with that old machine that I had before I moved into the Juki way, the more people I hear
that
say,
is the sort of issues that you have, and there's certain functions and features in machines that
Yeah.
will give constant issues on
Yeah.
there. So yeah, and obviously that's the fortunate thing about Juki having that industrial technology. It takes a lot of that away from it.
do you know the really nice that this is? There are a few things. I'm going to go and sit down and be quiet.
No, it's all right, great.
But there are a few things that I love on my machine above others. One is that I now have a thread cutter.
just
just
won't
amazing.
live without that now. Once you've
But
got it.
actually, the main thing is that when I'm sewing, I don't need to give a moment's consideration as to whether the top or the bobbin thread is going to be the one that is showing,
Yeah,
because they both are immaculate.
and
And that's brilliant.
well, that's how it should be as well.
I know it's how it should
Exactly
be,
how it
Gary.
should be.
But I
Yeah.
bet you there will be people out there that will only ever have their top stitch on the top,
Yeah.
and will only ever keep their bobbin stitch on the bottom because they don't match.
I could, like, when we're demonstrating, and I would say with an exhibition or something like that, and I can guarantee probably say 70% of people, when I've finished sewing, they will ultimately pick it up, have a look underneath, and go, "I can't believe that's even."
Yeah.
Well, my answer to that is, I can't believe you're
Yours
sewing and
is
it's not even,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
then
yeah.
that's more the issue.
So yesterday morning I made a bucket hat, and it's a reversible bucket hat.
Yeah,
And that's possible because my thread is the same both sides.
it's going to get
So
an even
as
stitch.
I'm
yeah.
sewing around to reinforce the rim, it's the same top and bottom.
And that's again how it should be on there. You should be happy with the finished product. You shouldn't have to restrict what you're sewing
Nope.
because of that reason.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope, no restriction. We are festival ready.
Indeed. Oh yes, not far away now.
Nope,
Absolutely.
no, no.
We're getting
I'm going
there.
that way. I'm going to leave you here. Gary, what are we looking at first off? What have you
Right.
got for us?
Okay, well, certainly there's a big thing about overlockers and cover stitches at the moment.
I mean, there would be a
So-
certain bee.
That is it.
That
There's a
might
certain
have done
program
that.
out there, and as we know, there's certain machines out there which will do a job, but it's how well they would do a job, and it's also how much you can then grow with that as well. So there's certain restrictions, and I don't know if you've sort of recently noticed, there's been a lot of posts lately about sort of the last couple of programs, how they've seemed to struggle with certain fabrics and that actually on the sewing
Yeah,
program.
yeah.
Again, there's machines where you can get to a certain level, but hopefully, if you enjoy your machine, you're going to want to use it more. If you're going to use it more, you're going to come against more hurdles, i.e. different types of fabrics, heavier types of fabrics, or you want to expand the type of sewing into bag making, into making hats.
Well,
and
that's
things
just
like that.
it, yeah.
So-
We always say, buy the machine for the sewer you want to become.
Something you can grow into,
Yeah.
and not get frustrated and
Yeah.
say just grow out of it and then get put off sewing. So that is
Because, and I have been that person that bought,
Well, I think we've all done
Yeah.
it in one way or another. I've done
Yeah.
it with other equipment as well. You think that's all I'm going to use it for, that's all I want, and then you become very frustrated of the job that you're doing.
buy cheap, buy twice.
And then when you, exactly it,
Yeah.
and then you upgrade the tools that you have,
Yeah.
and it does make life so much easier.
Yeah.
But also,
and pleasurable. We do this for fun,
yeah,
right?
You've got some beautiful fabrics here, and the last thing you want to be doing is chewing this up.
No.
Fabric is not, good quality fabric is not cheap, and it shouldn't be cheap.
No.
But the last thing you want it to do is then end up having to then unpick all the stitches, you've damaged it.
It's
and-
it's a matter of false economy, isn't it? And we all do it. We absolutely all do it. However, there is a time and a place for it.
Very, very much so. But
And-
also, a lot of the time as well, it's time.
Yeah.
We all seem to be rushing around nowadays. We're all here, there and everywhere. And if we've got an hour to sew, we want an hour to sew.
Yeah.
We don't want an hour, half an hour, three-quarters of an hour setting our machine up to sew.
Or having to
Yeah.
rethread it 18 times because there's something
Exactly.
wrong with the tension or causing more tension.
Causing, exactly.
We do not
yeah.
need any more of that. So what machine are we going to start with this
Right.
morning, Mr.
Well,
Debrick?
Basically, what I'm going to do is just talk through an overlocker to start off
Okay.
with. because I brought with me a selection of overlockers on there. Obviously, these are all available on the list. These are all sort of ex-display, ex-demonstration ones on here.
Hang on, well, even that one that's in front of you there, because that's still got the silica
Exactly
gel
it.
pack
Well,
on the back.
This is the one again. Some machines. So let's start at the beginning. So
It's a very good place to start.
and why not? As someone said once, didn't they?
Yeah.
So this is the MO654DEN.
And what level is this?
This is probably one of the biggest ever selling overlockers.
Really?
I've been selling this actual machine. It may be in a different sort of slightly different shape or guise on there, but the interior, the chassis, everything, I've been selling this for over 35 years.
Wow.
And
If
it's
it
not
ain't broke.
Exactly it. In this country, a lot of people sort of say, oh, Juki, haven't known Juki, they're known for more industrials. There's a
Yeah,
big...
but that's because they've got over 40% of the industrial market.
Absolutely. So
And you wouldn't take that knowledge and go, so we're going to make domestic, let's really downplay it
that's
and
it.
start from scratch. If you've got that knowledge,
If
you
you've got
wouldn't
the
do that.
technology, you've got the knowledge, put it into your domestic machines.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds daft, but Juki are a sewing machine manufacturer.
This is the difference,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people think that people like Singer make their own machines. They don't anymore, do
No,
they? They used to. They don't now.
20 odd years ago,
Yeah.
they used to. But there's names and brands out there now which we know of, that we think we know of,
Yeah.
which they're
But they're
nothing
not.
to do with
They're not
actually-
what we think they
No.
are. No.
They're a badge on a machine on there. And this is what I'm going to then go back to say about this machine as well. So 10 years ago, well, actually probably about 12 years ago now, Juki decided not to make machines for anybody else.
Amazing.
So there's a lot of people out there with a Juki, with a name on the machine they think they know, and they're probably very happy with it as well, not realising they're actually using a Juki.
Right.
And this is that actual machine, or one of them.
Right.
So this was branded up through a top make, a top name that people know. It's a European manufacturer who never ever made their own overlocker.
Oh, wow.
They went to Juki to make their own overlocker.
Okay.
So, so for 35 years, I've been selling this overlocker, fair enough, with a different name on to start off with.
Yeah.
But for the last 12 years, Juki themselves said, nope, that's it, we're not making them for anybody else, because of basically they want their own badging, they want their own support, their own backup service to look after the customers. So, and it is the same also with then some cover stitch machines as well.
Yeah.
So with that, then the technology within here, as you say, they've had it, say, for 30 odd years and they haven't changed it at all. But as we know, things do move on and do change. So all what I'm going to show you, there's different levels of machine, but they all do the same thing.
Okay.
So when people come to me and say, I want a basic overlocker, because I'm not sure if I'm going to use it or I don't do a lot of sewing, my first thing I say to that, there's no such thing as a basic overlocker.
They do. An overlocker overlocks. That's what it does.
And especially nowadays, years ago, you could go out and buy a 3-thread overlocker or a 4-thread overlocker. Nowadays, you basically 95% of overlockers out there on the market are what they call a 4-thread differential feed overlocker.
Right.
So it will do 3-thread roll hem, 4-thread differential feed as well. So differential feed is for stretch and jersey fabrics. And then it doesn't matter where you start then with your, I'm going to say, call it more of a basic overlocker, i.e. this is a manual threading overlocker.
And that's what Juki means by basic, because the machine that I fell in love with when I first started working with you had the whoosh technology.
That's exactly,
and that's the next step up. If you want to start, and this is no joke, I know some people are scared to thread an overlocker, and you're going to show us that?
Absolutely I am. I'm going to show you then the difference between a manual threading overlocker and, to be fair, how easy it is as well.
Yeah.
But obviously we all know sometimes the eyesight, the fingers stop working so much and things like that. You can make life easier by going to an air threading overlocker.
Can I just, on that, share a little, Gemma's on holiday, so I can tell all her secrets, it's fine. She has 2 overlockers.
Yeah.
Manual threads. She keeps one threaded in white and one threaded in black.
And that is, we hear that so often. And again, because they're scared of threading an overlocker. The difference also then with that is, say, again, I'm going to revert back to the beautiful fabrics I've got behind me. why not blend? Why not match? You're getting some beautiful fabric. A lot of time now, overlocking can be seen as a creative, a decorative stitch.
Well, you can use variegated thread. You can use, is it fluffy nylon?
Fluffy nylon, woolly nylons, and things like that. Absolutely. So but the key thing is then having a machine which will take these threads that you're comfortable then re-threading your machine using it. So, but looking at this one to start off with, this is the one we actually use in all of our classrooms.
Okay.
So we put them into schools, we put them into colleges, anybody with small businesses. This generally is the go-to overlocker, unless you obviously specifically want an air threading one. When people look at this, there's two things they sort of say. One thing, it looks complicated because of the external tension systems on here, or they say it looks old-fashioned because of the external tension systems. What I say, if you look at every single industrial overlocker, this is the tension system they will have.
That's what you've got.
This is the industrial style.
So what model is this? This is the
This
MO...
is the 654, the MO654 DEN on there. So, and then...
And we've got one of these available.
We have got only the one, literally just the one of these. I say, not very often these come up. Reason being, obviously, these are the ones we use in the classrooms on there. So it's often we take them around a lot. But I do have just one at the moment.
With over £100 off, just to be clear. So if you want this, it's £549. It should have been £665. I've got one.
Yeah, that is it.
This one. This
one
one.
And as you can see, it's a brand new overlocker on there. And then the advantages with something like this as well, again, it is a very powerful overlocker. You've got tungsten tip blades. They're straight blades as well. So they're more of a powerful cutting system on here rather than a hook blade, which then it doesn't cope with quite the thickness of the fabric, which again I will show you shortly on that. But it's also then got the safety feature still on there. So whenever any of the flaps are open, the front or the side, the machine itself will cut itself out. So again, safety paramount for us at Juki, because again, a lot of these go into schools and businesses. Very important to have that side on there. So, but the main thing with this, like with all Jukis, we can pick up any piece of fabric and it will just sew it.
You know it's going to.
We know, and the tensions will look after themselves. So let's talk about tensions as well. Again, we're just trying to squeeze in different informations which will pop into my head. So if I do go off on a tangent, that's the reason why. So there is no such thing as automatic tensions. And it doesn't matter whether a machine has got automatic rote on there. A machine cannot tell what fabric you're using, and it doesn't know what thread you're using.
No.
So it physically can't have an automatic system on there because it can't gauge that. So there's either good quality or bad quality.
Okay.
So a weak tension system, this is where you people sort of then they have to change it from fabric, then they have to change it from threads, is because it's not necessarily the threads or fabric you're using, it's just that tension system is not constant.
Okay.
So having a constant tension system means better quality parts. So it's not a weaker spring system that way. So this is the nice thing again, with the external tensions, we can actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
Obviously with the air threading systems and all that, it's all built in because that's the system they've got. So with this particular system, you can see exactly what you're doing. Obviously for cleaning purposes as well, this is another thing, obviously we create a lot of fluff. Having the external system, there's nowhere for the fluff to go. Obviously it's all on the outside, so which is a lot better that way.
This looks a lot less scary than my very first overlocker.
Well, they simplified it, so as we can see
because there was a lot going on in that, and I used to have to get up a YouTube demonstration every time to try and thread that thing before I went over to the whoosh. It wasn't my first wasn't a Juki. I was given one,
right,
and it wasn't a Juki, so for full, you know, and it did not look as easy as that.
So, and well, that's the thing. Even though you have still got a manual threading system, they have simplified it. It's all colour coded, and it does have an automatic looper threader as well. And the loopers are the underneath, which actually forms the overlock, which is why the overlockers are unique. In the same machine will often overlock stitch, but it will never overlock like an overlocker because of the under system. But on the other hand of that, that's where people find it more difficult to thread.
Yeah.
But obviously having an easier threading system, which this one has, it does sort of take away a lot of that. But also with a better quality, it's not going to break threads.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
That's the frustrating thing, where obviously if your overlocker keeps breaking threads or keeps coming unthreaded and you've got to keep threading it.
I used to put aside a whole morning knowing that I would have to rethread that thing at least 3 times. Julia said the same. I bought an overlocker years ago and hated it, and I have a whoosh Juki now and love it. And that's the thing. I moved across to a whoosh.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it, but I didn't have one of these. And looking at this, that's way less scary than my old one.
And also, you can completely open it all up.
Oh, come on.
So you can easily see inside it as well. So it's not fiddly on there. So it is just a lot simpler than what the older ones used to be. But again, the Juki technology in the design in here, why make things complicated if they don't have to be? So
Okay, can we just, right, I'm going to stop you there because that is key with Juki. The number of times that people go and buy a new machine, so I'm just going to step away from an overlocker for a moment, and want 8 million different stitches, slight hyperbole there, but they want all the stitches in all the world, all the different patterns. I'm going to suggest to you, you'll probably use about 6 of them anyway, unless you're just do embroidery.
Yeah.
But actually your straight stitch doesn't stitch straight. And that is, and it's Pareto's 80-20 law, isn't it? 80% of the work is done by 20% of the stitches. Make sure that those are good. And this is what I love about Juki, coming back to it slightly long-windedly, is that they don't put anything unnecessary on there. So you might not have 20,000 stitches on there, but you can jolly well bet your bottom dollar that every stitch that it does beautifully.
Absolutely. Well, that's the same as when I'm demonstrating. 90% of my demonstrations generally are on straight stitch.
Yeah.
Is because
if it can't do that,
that is the thing. And I will then pick up any piece of fabric. I will pick up different threads, because that's important as well. Where people are afraid of matching the threads to the fabric, i.e. the thickness of thread.
Yeah.
So if you're using like a really nice tile lawn, a nice sort of fine, certainly with the quality of the fabrics here, then I would personally use something like a 60 thickness thread.
Yeah.
That little bit finer. Obviously a standard, well, I'm going to say standard, but domestically, generally it's a 50 thickness on there. And if you look at that 50 thickness compared to the weave of the fabric, generally it's heavier. Yeah. So unless you want your stitch to stand out, then match the thread to the fabric. Yeah. So going to a 60 thickness, you're going to get a beautiful looking stitch on there. It's that bit finer. Then obviously if you want a top stitch or an embroidery stitch, you can go to a 40. So you're going slightly heavier, so you want it to stand out a bit more. And some people don't do that, because the amount of times I hear, oh, my machine will only take its thread.
Yeah, or it doesn't like this make of thread, or it doesn't like that make of thread.
That's it.
And you go, well, how does it know?
That's the thing. It shouldn't really know on that. But there's obviously different qualities of thread, the way it runs through your machine. Yeah. And if your machine is not smooth enough and the tension system is then not looking after the thread, that is generally why the machines won't cope with it. So when we again play around we play with the different weights of fabric as well as the different weights of thread, because we want to know, if I want to use metallic threads, I can use metallic threads. If I want to use invisible threads, I can use invisible threads.
Can I be really honest?
Yeah.
Years ago, I bought some cheap variegated silk threads.
Right.
My Juki is the only one that can actually cope with them, because they're not great quality. They're really pretty. Yeah. They're really pretty, but my goodness, I could not use them until I got my Juki.
And that's a nice again to hear that again, because the tension system is so important on there. Because when we sort of talk about sort of tension systems, a lot of people sort of saying about changing then for the tension for different types of fabric. Well, it's not actually the fabric that runs through the tension, it's the thread that runs through the tension. Yeah. So the tension should always stay even, doesn't matter what thickness of fabric you're putting through it, i.e. don't forget the needle to change the needles, obviously that's very important. But obviously with ourselves, and what I use size 80 on absolutely everything, on my overlockers, on my sewing machines, but again, I'm going to repeat myself, and to people who've seen me before and that, change a needle, change a needle, change a needle, because a lot of query, a lot of problems if you're stitching slightly looping, obviously your machine's making a little bit more noise than what you're used to, it could well be the needle. So the needle is very important. Change it more regular than what you probably think you need to.
Do you know what? Jan sent me a message this morning saying every now and then her machine will loop. And I just, the first thing, and I said I'd wait until you were here, but on the tip of my tongue it was to say, just change the needle, Jan, that will go away. Just change that needle. Absolutely. We sell needles. After doing a show with you, we started selling needles by the 100. And I don't know if you remember, but we did a snap test because
That's
I
right.
I was horrified that these needles would snap, and you said, no, that's great, that's what you want it to do, because then you have to change it
Yeah.
rather than the slightest possibility of working with a bent needle that could damage your machine.
Absolutely. Well, I think it was the first time I ever sort of we spoke about that.
Yeah.
It's the first time I think I've actually broadcasted about the needle.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've spoken to many people about
And
it.
our sales of our class 100 needles in size 80 and 90 just went crazy.
Yeah.
I think they're like 20, just over 20 quid for 100 needles.
Well, you wouldn't use a blunt pair of scissors to cut your fabric.
No.
That's it. And again,
No.
'cause you know it will damage it.
Yeah.
And it's like using a blunt needle.
Yeah.
It can damage your fabric, but also it will definitely damage your stitch.
My ex-husband, I caught him using my fabric scissors to cut baler twine on the hay bale.
Yeah.
I now emphasise the ex-husband.
Well, that's what I was just saying. That's why the ex is there. Do not touch my scissors.
No. Josh has already learnt that. He was like, I can't
Absolutely.
use these.
Well, when I've just picked up a pair of yours, and I've just seen obviously the big sign on it, Natasha's fabric.
Yeah.
It,
But we
only,
do. But we
like.
also have ones that are labelled as blunt.
Yeah.
So that they move down the scale. So if you want to cut a zip with them, you use the blunt scissors. You know,
it.
we have that scale
And
of
then it
scissors.
goes to paper after that, and you move it on. I would say the other way of doing that is actually, we had a bit of a rush on setting up our electric scissors. I have got our electric scissors around
Oh,
somewhere.
have you? Good,
Yeah.
because we needed some more of those.
On that, and it's that case of where you can interchangeable blades.
Nice.
So you've got the same scissors, the same quality,
Yeah.
but then you can have one blade for paper crafting, you can have one blade, for them fabrics.
Yeah.
So then you're getting the power and the strength of the electric scissor, but you're not damaging the blade.
Perfect.
So or
Perfect,
the blade
perfect.
is chosen for what you want. to
Rebecca
sew
says,
on there.
bought my semi-industrial last year and I absolutely love it. Had a minor problem with it, my fault entirely. I somehow bent the wire on the tension knob out of shape. Phoned Juki, had a FaceTime call about the problem. They phoned me back to arrange collection for the repair. Let me know the machine arrived with them. 3 weeks later, they emailed to arrange delivery back to me. Let me know when it had been sent, and I have my beloved machine back as good as new. Exceptional customer service. Thank you, Juki. And that is the thing. Someone was scared, concerned that I was using my DX rather than my semi-industrial. And they're like, is there a reason why? And I was like, well, actually, it was because I needed a zigzag stitch or something. That was all it was, and I just didn't turn it over. We change it back. I have various machines. I've got at least 3 Jukis here, and we interchange them. You will rarely see the UX because Jane doesn't let me. Gary, can you just flip your microphone to face up towards someone says that you're quiet? Just because I'm a bit boomy. There's no surprise there.
Is that better?
Yeah, just if you put it on, if you clip it on the other lapel at the side, then you'll be.
That does help.
Sue says I have an industrial Juki, never misses a beat.
And that's the thing is that you say about obviously with the DX series on there, and obviously we have got the DX 2000. We've got 2 of those available today. Yourself, you use the DX7. And people know the DX7. It's the same machine that obviously we've had now for nearly 10 years on that DX series. But the great thing about that, with again that industrial technology, it's still got the box feed system, the same as what we have in our industrial machines. So it's still got the strength, it's still got the power there. Yeah. So again, having the TL set up, a lot of people do have that set up. We've got that high speed performance, the strength, the power. But as you say, it's something you've got to do a buttonhole or something like that.
You
and
do need another one.
Some people haven't got room for several machines. Obviously, some people say you're restricted on what you can play around with on there. So then having a DX7, you've still got a very powerful machine. You've got a very strong speed, over 1,000 stitches a minute. But then you have got all your buttonhole systems on there as well.
They are my 2 go-to machines, the TL series and then the DX series. They're the 2 go-to machines because, like I said, Jane has stolen my UX, and that is in the warehouse where she does her prep for the shows. But it's only fair, she makes a quilt a week for me.
And then you've got the 12-inch arm, obviously we know on the UX on there. Obviously, I did only have one available of the UX, which sold obviously pre-show on that already.
Sold within a day of going up.
Because again, it's not very often. But yesterday, loading up to come up to here, going through the stock check again. We were told then there's one more now available on there, so that is there at the same price as well. So that's a very good buy on that one. As I talk, so I am going to then run this through so we can get some actually sewing done. Maybe
actually see a
we
bit
might
of sewing.
start on some sewing.
Go on then, let's do that.
Right, so as we sort of talking about with overlockers, as I just run that through.
If you move it back ever so slightly, Gary, then we can see that. Can you see?
Yeah,
can
that's
you see
it. I'm
what
just
we
going to
can
run
see?
that now. Now I've run it through, let's just pop that on there. So we can then open that up there and there. So we can see, yeah, we can see inside there, okay. So first of all, with all of our overlockers and the cover stitch machines, it's got the full metal chassis inside. So it's solid, there's no vibration, it doesn't rattle. Again, it's sort of, I've noticed people when they've sewn, they're chasing the overlocker around the table and it's moving, it's bouncing.
Just no.
Well, two things there. One thing, obviously, it's not good for your sewing, but main thing for me is not good for the machine whatsoever.
No.
If any moving, bouncing machines, doesn't matter what it is, there's more chance of parts becoming loose, obviously on there as well. So that can cause more issues and more problems that way. So when you start looking on an overlock, if you looked on the internet, if you looked on leaflets, you think, well, why do I need to buy this one at this price when it does exactly the same as this one at this price?
Yeah,
and as I
fair
said,
question.
I have got overlockers here now from 600, 1100 and technically 1900.
Yeah.
And they all have the same stitch package on there because that's what overlockers do.
Yeah.
We do not do combination cover stitch overlockers.
Right.
So I get that asked that quite a lot. Years ago, we developed a cross overlocker cover stitcher, so you can actually convert it from one to the other.
Crossbreed.
How
How did that go?
It was a nice overlocker, don't get me wrong, but it was very confusing.
Okay.
And this is the problem when you start putting two machines in one.
Yeah.
You don't always get the one good job
Yeah.
on that. Even as I'm going to say, even though from Juki yourselves, it was sort of the best of its kind, but it was still.
Can I just give a nod of thanks to Juki then for sticking to their ethos and going, actually, we're not going to sell that anymore because that doesn't work.
No, that's exactly it. Again, we don't want that reputation.
No.
They say we've also in the part we've made embroidery machines because every single exhibition we go to, when are you going to make an embroidery machine? Well, we have made many embroidery machines. We made an embroidery machine, I'm going to say 30 years ago, which. Fair enough, there was two other manufacturers that badged it. We never had it in the UK under the Juki banner. But again, it just wasn't our thing on there because we had to then change the sewing concept. So you're changing the tensions, you're changing the feed systems, you're changing the programming because it's then got to cope with two different jobs. So whether it comes to overlockers, cover stitch machines, embroidery machines, sewing machines, a tool to do a job is always going to be better than a multi-tool trying to do multiples of jobs on there. And as you say, that's why we took the cover stitch overlocker off the market. Not only for quality reasons, I say for it wasn't bad at all. Not quite as high as we expect at Juki, but a lot of other manufacturers it was still a lot higher than their quality on that sort of side of it. But when we were sold them and sort of over the years and that, you talk to people, they would never convert it because you had to then start taking things off, unscrewing things, putting new plates on.
No.
You were literally changing it from one machine to another machine. That's exactly it. And as we know, people don't want to play around with an overlocker. Mine play around with just the threading. Mine play around with actually then removing, changing feet, changing plates and things like that.
And I'm sure when the engineers designed them, it was easy for them because they designed them.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so easy for them to start stripping bits off and doing this, that and the other. But I know that I get scared if I have to do anything past the bobbin.
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
Like, that's not my department.
It's
Thank you very much.
It's the price of some of them as well. When you start looking, obviously, their new developments are always going to cost more money. It's just the nature of what it is on there. So, where you could then buy literally a separate overlocker and a cover stitch machine for not a lot of difference in price and get those two tools to do the perfect job. But also going back to what you're saying is it's about that you do not want to change, you don't want to unthread it, rethread it again on there. If you're sewing, you want to be able to, if you can, and if you've got space or you're just moving and changing machines, literally move from one machine to the other. You don't want to sit there for half an hour fiddling around and playing just to get another stitch. So definitely that is why I would always recommend not to have combination machines on there.
No, get one job done properly.
Absolutely. And obviously what I'm going to say is there's people out there who go, oh, I brought a combination and I absolutely love it. And Yes, there could
for
well
you.
be, and that's it.
Absolutely
And please
brilliant.
enjoy it. Absolutely brilliant
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But going by the majority of people, and certainly going by machines that we've obviously sold in the past, when I've spoken to them later, then they are not using both sides of the machine
Yeah,
because
no,
it's
that's no good.
such a faff sometimes to do that.
So how do we use this one?
Right, so with an overlocker, the manual threading overlocker on there, again, the nice thing about it, it's all colour coded, it's very easy to follow. So I'm just going to grab some threads there. So on the back we have our cone holders. So with these, they are designed then when you are using literally the cones of thread. So it will take both the cones of thread or your single reels. So with overlocker thread, a lot of people say to me, again, you're using 4 threads, it must be quite expensive, why am I using so much? But the answer to that is, when you do your normal seam in your sewing, you're using 4 threads anyway. Is because you're doing the zigzag down the edge of your fabric to stop it from fraying, so you're using 2 threads, and then you're doing a straight stitch to give you your seam, so you're using another 2 threads.
Yeah.
So you are actually using 4 threads. So this obviously in an overlocker, you're using 4 threads all in the same time. So when it comes to overlocker thread, then yes, don't get me wrong, if you want to use your top quality and you're paying £11, £12 for 1,000 metres, then yeah, that's okay. Very expensive way of doing it. So this is Coates Moon thread on there.
Do you know what, moon thread? It's got a good place for this.
Absolutely.
Hasn't it? Perfect.
What I will say now is we have used moon thread for decades.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful for overlockers, great value for money. They now do 2 different qualities of thread.
Right.
So one of them, yes, it is a slightly cheaper thread, but like all sort of bulk threads or bargain threads as well, there are different qualities on there. This is the Moon 120, absolutely ideal for it. When you look at it, you will see it's a lot smoother. Yes, it is slightly hairier because it's the nature of the quality of the price of the thread, but it's consistent.
Right.
And what you don't want on any overlocker thread or any thread for any sewing machine is the inconsistency, where you start getting slubs in it and it changes thickness because of the way it's been twisted. And that's going to throw any tension system out, doesn't matter how good the tension system is. So yes, you can go online, you can go and buy complete bulk threads. I've heard, oh, I got 20,000 metres of thread for £5, and then don't always expect it to work well. So what we do say on a sewing machine and an overlocker, if you've been sewing one day and it's absolutely fine, and then suddenly you change your threads and it's not then stitching, well, first of all check your threading, but then second of all check your thread. Don't say necessary, oh, it's threaded correctly, it must be the machine. No, it can often be the thread a lot of the time. We
have sold thousands and thousands and thousands of metres of moon thread over the year. When we first started, we had massive shipment fulls of I got them from House of Alistair, and we sold them at such an insane price, but they were old moon threads and they were perfect because they were polyester. So they didn't degrade.
No.
They did the job. And so if any of you bought those from us, we're going back 4 years, pop them in your overlocker. Absolutely perfect. Use them for your bag making where you need that strong stitch. If you're quilting, yes, you want cotton, of course. If you're quilting, then cotton is just beautiful because it's matching what you're using.
It's matching your fibres on that side of it.
If you want that strength for bag making, for overlocking, because let's face it, if you are making a garment, you do not want that stitching to fail.
No, absolutely not. No. You want that stress, and obviously, especially with an overlocker, where a lot of time you are using that stretch, your jersey, your lycras and things like that. So
you want to be able to stretch.
Exactly.
Yes.
That is it. If you're making sportswear or anything like that, the fabric's designed to stretch. So when you're fitted, it's generally you are going to be stretching in it.
Yeah.
So last thing you want to be doing is obviously showing the world a broken seam. I
mean, I used to be a fencer. And
we are talking swording.
Yes.
We're not digging holes.
I mean, I do.
Posts.
Both,
I know you do that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Electric fencing, but no, I used to be a fencer. And I used to teach fencing for hours every week. And if I was lunging, and I taught over 2,000 children to fence down in the south of England, the last thing you want in front of a group of kids armed with swords is to have a rip of any way, shape or form. So that's just not the one. So the quality of sportswear was really important, and that comes down to the stitching.
And that very much comes down to the stitching on there. So, and also with certain overlockers as well, when you look at the tension systems, where obviously when you open the seam, you end up seeing all the stitching, again, because the tension's not correct. That's something you don't really want to see, especially if you're not matching your threads.
Yeah, of course,
so
of course,
on that side of it. So
how do we thread this one?
right. So the manual threading, the key thing to a lot of manual threading overlockers is the order.
Okay.
So it has to be done in the correct order. With Juki themselves, we have got a little diagram. I'm probably not going to see it too much. We've got the overhead. Oh, there we go. Am I going to move it in the right way? So I'm going to tip it as well. See, there's a little diagram just on there.
Oh, okay, right.
On there. But obviously there's a bigger diagram in the instruction manual as
Yeah.
well. It's all colour coded, and it gives numbers on there as well. So this one actually threads anti-clockwise. Blue, red, green and yellow.
Okay.
So again, very straightforward. It's all colour coded at the top as well. So I'm literally going to take the blue thread being number 1. So as we're going through and sort of threading it up, you will notice there's a couple of little things on here, like I'll just move that forward there, with the top guides. And it's all these little things that can add up as well. So with the top guide here, it's actually got 2 guiding holes, not just the one. So the first one goes across to the first hole, and the second one again comes in from the top into the second hole. So it sort of just wraps itself around. The reason we do that, again, it's the same as what we do on our industrial machines. So if I just put a little twist, I'm going to bring that forward there as well. So if I've got a little twist then within my thread on here, if I just pull the thread through by hands, as it's coming through, this will actually untwist any threads.
Right.
So if you've got any knots or twists that come off, with a lot of machines at the time it gets down to the tensions, it can pop it out the tensions, it would just break the threads. So again, something very simple, but very effective.
Saves,
Again,
yeah.
it just prevents those problems on
Sue
there.
wants to know what the advantage or disadvantage of the dials on the front of an overlocker as opposed to the top tension discs are.
So the top tension discs on there are a domestic design. It looks easier. it's more for that eye. If you look at now most domestic overlockers, they will have what they call inline tensions on there.
So it's just to pretty it up.
It's just to pretty it up
Okay.
on there. So swings and roundabouts on there, like a domestic machine, obviously you clean them out, you have them serviced, etc. that way. But obviously with the amount of use. So with an industrial machine, obviously it's designed to be running 6-8 hours a day, every single day. So this tension system is what they call an external tension system, but it's the same as every single industrial machine out there. And also it's got self-pressurising discs. So as that was said earlier about a check spring on some machines, if you catch it, you can bend it and things like that. These haven't got that. So the domestic machines, it's all built inside. But with the self-pressurising disc on here, so it's a lot easier to clean. Also, there's nowhere for the fluff to get caught inside either.
Right.
So again,
because when I open my overlocker,
yeah,
and especially because I work with fleeces and stuff like that. You know, I'm making dog beds by the bucket load, and with my overlocker, that's one of the main things that I do are dog beds on there with fleece. Or if I'm making kids blankets and stuff like that, again, I might back them in fleece or whatever, and it goes everywhere.
It's going to create so much fluff and things like that. And what I also say to that, obviously, when you're creating that much fluff and that, again, the more regularly you can clean your machine out, less chance it's actually going to go inside your machine. Yeah. Obviously, the longer you leave it, the fluff is just going to build itself up more and more and end up inside your machine. So,
and that's not, you know, if you're going to buy felt, don't make your own.
No. On that, no,
Yeah.
definitely. On something like that, or say on the other side of that, which we do, and definitely on sometimes in classrooms with bits and pieces on that, all that fluff, stick it in a jar and make yourself felt afterwards.
Yeah.
On that, you can. So many people, you can sort of free motion embroidery. Obviously, you can then get sort of embellishing machines and things like that, which will then knit it all together and mock it all together. So yes, you can make your own fabric, but don't make it in your machine.
No,
Make it outside the machine on there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's little things like that. Again, with being creative, being crafters, being sewers, a lot of it, don't chuck things away. No. Stick it in a jar, use it.
Yes.
It's like cold water dissolvable fabrics as well. When you use those and you end up with all those little pieces, get a jar of water, put them in the water, it dissolves it in the water on there, and eventually we'll have a paste. And you can then paint it, which acts as a stiffener, but then you can wash it afterwards and it will disappear.
Well, that's genius.
So again, just little things like that. But as I say, most of us know as sewers, as crafters, we don't chuck things away. It's stored somewhere. On that. So going to the threading again on here. So with the machine itself, the threading, you say you're not getting the advantage of the air threading system, but it's very, very easy. And you do have the looper threader built into it underneath as well. So if I just turn that onto there, so this little lever here, if I flick that forwards, as you can see, it actually brings that looper, will come forward. So it makes it easier for the threading system. So, but as you've recognised, and maybe people at home will recognise as well with an overlocker they might have, you've probably got a lot more guides, a lot more hooks to go around. It is really simplified on here. Okay. So going through, first of all, say the blue guide on here, again colour coded, blue guide, round the tension, blue guide. Then we've got a blue guide, blue guide, blue guide, and blue guide. So it literally just hook, hook, hook in like so. So we've just gone from here to here to here to here.
Well,
and then
can you just move your arm no, other way?
There, on there. So
yeah.
I just need to put it in.
You moved it by a freckle and an arm hair.
That's it. So just into that guide there as well. So that's sort of quite a simple way, and it's obviously nice and easy to follow. And then you do have the eye of the looper just to thread it through as well. So with an overlocker, and sort of people who are not sure what's different on an overlocker, why a sewing machine won't do what an overlocker can, it's purely because of these two bits of metal here. Okay. These are what we call loopers. We've got our upper and lower looper. So that's what actually gives the coverage over the edge of your fabric on there.
So it won't fray, so it can be washed, worn, all those sorts of things.
That's exactly it. And also it will then, that's what gives you the double seam by having the two rows, two needles, which will give you the 2 rows of stitching. Yeah. So you're not weakening it by having a needle form part of that stitch. Yeah. It's the loopers which are actually forming the over edge stitch.
So the loopers, if I want to make my stitch decorative, then I can put fluffy nylon in my loopers and then it looks really pretty.
That's
it. So that's a trick that Garry taught me for baby blankets, which is great. I've got fluffy nylons that I put in my looper.
Yeah.
And then I just have a piece of fleece and I will do brilliant pinks, blues, whatever it is, around there, and then all I then do is monogram the blanket with a little leftover bit of Liberty or something like that, applique that on, stitch around. There's your perfect baby blanket. Thank you very much. Hasn't cost me a lot of money, hasn't taken me a lot of time. Personalised, absolutely loved. Boom, yeah. Thank you very much, everybody's happy.
And that's it. And the great thing about it is, say, if people haven't used the woolly nylon before or something like that, it's so soft.
Yeah,
it's got a bit of stretch. Soft. It's got, quite a bit more stretch than normal polyester thread. But so you say for baby stuff, lingerie, anything like that, anything that's going to go against the skin, obviously where some polyester threads might be a little bit scratchy, something like that, use the woolly nylon. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, but you say for a decorative finish as well, it really is beautiful.
Yeah,
in there. So,
So that's where it go into those bits, into the loopers.
Absolutely. And these are my loopers. So all I've done is then thread the end of the thread through the eye of the looper on there, and this is when you hear people sort of say about threading an overlocker. These are the ones, to be fair, you're usually having a moan about, because this is something that you haven't got on your sewing machine, and it is just that little bit more awkward because it's tucked inside. But all I'm doing is threading it, and it's as simple as that. So it's still not difficult to do, it's just another hole that you've got to thread it through on there. So that's your first looper threaded. So I keep putting my arm in the way.
No, so yeah. I mean, maybe we might need to just spin it round a little bit towards you, so that might help. There you go.
Is that better that way? Yeah, on there. So once that's done, all I do is just lay it over the side. As I said before, when any of the flaps are open, the machine will not work. Again, safety features in there. Obviously, you've got sharp blades, you've got points, you've got needles, you've got that. So the last thing you want to do is your fingers in there, and say your dog comes along and sits on your foot control without you recognising it, runs off, or you've accidentally touched it. So
I've had that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the times I hear that,
I've got Great Dane and Spaniels, and it's the Spaniels
Yeah.
It's always the Spaniels.
Then we'll tuck up round your feet.
They just want to be with you, and that's it.
And then if you're threading it, and suddenly before you know it, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we've got Ruben in here. We've got the Great Dane in here today, and he's tucked in his bed. You wouldn't know he was here.
no, for the size of him, we can't believe that he's. You
wouldn't. And he knows he's not allowed behind the counter normally because he's just too big. He knocks stuff.
Yeah,
so he goes on his bed, and that's it. Spaniel's different matter. So yeah, I'm always very thankful for a safety feature. And also my daughter.
Yes.
She is 5 and loves a button or something to press or stand on or touch or get off.
Well, that's the great thing. They're intuitive, and they want to be intuitive at that age as well. They want to play. Let's see what mum's doing. I want to be like mum, and that's fantastic.
I also want my fingers.
Yes,
you know,
it's very much
fussy.
on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so again, obviously with that for home use, but also then for obviously business use for schools and that, obviously very important to have that safety feature on there. So that was the blue looper. Now we're going to then thread the red looper. Obviously this is seeming a lot more long-winded than what it is, because obviously we just talk and chat and
Gary.
things that in between.
We've been known to have a little
So
chat.
the red one looper, this is sort of what people really call sort of the most awkward one. But again, I find it no different. So what I'm going to do, I'm not actually going to talk between threading this one. I'm just going to show you how quick and how easy it is just to thread the looper. So again, top guide through, second guide through, tensions round over the guide. Again, red guide, and red guide. So this is now where the looper threader comes down. Just press the little lever, and again it brings that little red guide into view, nice and easy, into the looper guide. Then from there, flick the lever back up, which is now threaded the back of the looper, and now all I do is thread the front of the looper. So, and then the important thing on here is that the red thread goes over the blue thread. And that's why, this is why overlockers have to be threaded in a specific order, so the threads do cross in the right way. But as you can see, without me stopping and starting, that is how quick and how easy it is to thread the looper. And say that one is sort of the most awkward one as such on there. So nice and simple, that's your 2 loopers done. Then next you've got your 2 needles. Obviously if I'm using it as a free thread, I can remove the left or right hand needle, depends if I want a narrow or wide free thread.
Ooh,
but I can then exactly it. So gain that flexibility, which is great. Because a lot of people sort of say like free thread, but going back to a wide free thread, because most people will do a narrow free thread, but going back to saying about using the floss thread on that, because it's quite a bulky thread, and especially doing it on things like fleece and blanket, we've got a thicker fabric. Use a wide free thread. It looks fantastic. It really does on a fleece. So that's why definitely don't sort of stick to what people always do. The machine's capable of doing many other things. So
I think people get scared to play and to try.
Yeah, and this is what we're going to sort of show you very shortly on this one as well. So yes, obviously having the whoosh system, absolutely brilliant. And you would never look back once you've had a whoosh system. It is fantastic on there. But there's also the other way of that. It is a large amount more money on that. And I'm going to put hands on heart, there is no difference in quality. There is no difference in performance. They both have DC motors. They both have metal chassis. So I could not sell the whoosh system as a stronger, better overlocker as far as stitches goes over and above the 654.
So if you are happy to thread your own machine, don't waste the money on a whoosh.
Well, and also it's sort of wasting on there.
I was saying he's not there.
So the dog's come up, but also I've just seen a chicken walk past the window.
Oh, Gary, it's ridiculous. I had to chase them out of the kitchen this morning. They come in, I have to share my boyfriend with other birds, and there are 12 of them, and they all come in the kitchen looking for it.
It is absolutely, just sorry, I just don't see that at home very often, chickens walking past the window.
No, I know. And so, Ruben, our Great Dane, was very confused this morning.
It is wonderful.
Because he had to share his kitchen with a chicken. And they now start pecking at the window and demanding to be let in the kitchen, which is ridiculous.
Does he know how to open the door to let him in yet?
There's free range and there's free range. This is just insane. So sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, no, you just say these things happen,
Here we are.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Absolutely love it. So going to the green, and then the green is the right hand needle. So round the tension, under the guide, again through the green guide, over, through, behind, and then left to front to back for the needle. But before I thread that needle, I'm actually going to then take the yellow thread. So I'm going to do the same and bring it down to the needle again. So into the yellow, round the tension, under the guide, over the guide on that one, through the guide, and then this one is then my left hand needle. So I'm just going to first of all thread the right needle.
Gary, I'm trying to think, last time you were here, did we do a video of this, a close-up video for my, my members page?
This is the first time I've had one of these. So it wouldn't have been the 654.
Did we thread an overlocker?
It would have been the whoosh system, I would say.
Let's grab a video of this after the show.
On that, and then yeah, we can certainly put that on there. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and then front to back. So all of our overlockers take domestic flat-sided needles. So nothing special at all on there. And as I say, I use size 80 on everything. On the overlocker, you do not need to use ballpoint needles, you don't need to use stretch needles or anything like that.
Do you know what? I remember causing myself so much confusion and everything else when I Googled what needle I should use on an overlocker when I very first had one. I was so scared to use my machine just in case I didn't have the right needle, because I was getting to the end of the ones that had come with it. Yeah. You know, that 5-pack or 4-pack or whatever it is. And again, that fear.
Yeah, where do I get needles from? Yeah. Are they the right size, etc. That way.
So would you use 80s or 90s on this?
We say I use 80 all the time, everything. But on the saying that is one of our tutors. She uses 90s on everything.
We sell both.
Oh, absolutely. So
buy the 100-pack.
Yeah, but don't go up to heavier needles. You certainly don't need to go up to hundreds or anything like that. And if you go obviously too light, it makes the needle's eyes that little bit smaller and it's harder to thread. But
do you know, I'm just giggling because I picked up a pattern to rework it this morning, and one of the instructions was to use a denim needle, and I looked at the date and I'm like, it's been that long since I did this. Yeah. We hadn't done that demonstration with the needle. Yeah. And it was back in the day where I thought I needed a stronger, a strong needle.
Yes, indeed.
No, you need a good machine.
Absolutely, that's the difference on there, because also there's, depending on the machine you've got at home, there's some machines as well. You think, okay, I want to sew denim and things like that. You put a strong needle in there, and because then the needle is stronger than the actual machine can take, you're more likely then to knock the machine out of timing. Is because then the needle's not breaking. Yeah. The machine is actually breaking on there. So, and it's
one or the other.
That's exactly. So it's as soon as if you've got a machine that you're using and you're suddenly come against a fabric that you suddenly have to help through, you're pushing it through on that. Technically, the machine doesn't want to cope with it, because if a machine doesn't sew it on its own, the machine doesn't want to sew it. So if you end up forcing it... You can hear
with machines when they're struggling, can't you? It's like when you drive a manual car and you're driving up a hill, you can hear the engine struggle and you know when you've got to change the gear.
Yeah, that's it.
But with a machine, you don't necessarily have another gear to change. So it's just like actually you need to change what you're putting in it. It's the same when I cut the grass. If I can hear the engine of the lawnmower struggling, then I will have to change one of my settings.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's no different.
And it's exactly, this is it. Each tool is built for certain jobs. Yeah. And there's certain machines out there, we know, and it's the mechanics on the machine, and this is obviously where I can now go off on a tangent and talk for hours and hours, and we won't do
Gary,
it. So bring me back down, because as soon as we're given a new machine to look at, before I even sew a stitch on it, I will actually remove covers and I will look. I want to know how thick the needle bar is, because that is the main connection of sewing. There's some machines out there where that needle bar is like 4 millimeters in diameter. It is tiny. Your needle's not much thinner than that, and that's your main sewing connection on there. And again, if you're trying to use heavyweight fabrics on there, that needle bar is not strong enough, and it's when it's connected to is not strong enough either.
Never given that a moment's thought.
No, and a lot of people, they won't, but also it's a difference is where you can go out and you can buy now a sewing machine online or wherever for 100, 150 quid, and it may do 101 different stitches, but you're not paying for those stitches, as we said from the start. You're paying for the mechanics. As soon as a machine does zigzag, you can get that zigzag to do many, many different stitches by just a bigger cam. It's nothing to do with the mechanics of the machine at all in there, but it's what it's connected to is the sewing point, i.e. it's what the feed system is, it's what the components are made of, it's how strong the components are made of as well. And that's what really changes the price on any sewing machine. It's not not the amount of stitches
so
on
it's
it.
not the number of stitches on it.
No.
It's the actual build quality.
That's it,
to allow
on
those.
there to
Okay,
allow it.
got
And
it.
that's why you say, well, I will always sort of say to people, when you look at a new machine, when you go and test a new machine, forget all the fancy bits to start off with. Obviously,
Yeah.
the fancy bits are lovely, and a lot of machines will have it. But put fabrics through it, put threads through it. Actually sew, see it sewing. That's the main thing. I know it sounds daft for a sewing machine, but that's the key thing you've got to do on there. And you say, what we do is we put lots of fabrics through it, and obviously to
Shall
show
we?
you how easy. Yeah, go on.
Shall
Yeah,
we then?
we will do on this.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, give me a kick to go. Let's do that. So I've just threaded it out. So what I'm going to do is just
But
wind
you're
it
right.
over a couple
You
of by
are
hands.
absolutely right. And it's only that I'm thinking, well, yes, we should. We should
should
do
sew.
exactly that. We should show and sew and show everybody everything.
Let me just grab your scissors again. So what I've done, I've just turned it over a few times by hand to lock the stitches in, and now I'm just going to cut and trim all those threads there. Again, not a lot of overlockers you can do that with, but obviously with this one, absolutely no problems at all. So cutting blade is here, roll hem lever is here. On the side of the machine, we've got our stitch length, and then we have our differential feed on there as well. So what I'm going to do now is not touch anything at all. Our tensions are all set on number 4. That's its even tension. This is exactly how you will get it out of the box. So other little things, again, going through my engineering side on it, which makes the big difference, is all our overlockers are oil bathed. And what does that mean? So all domestic manufacturers, so they build an overlocker, they construct it, put it together, chuck some oil on it, you take it home, then you've either got to run it in a bit longer, you put some more oil in it. Before we even put a cover or anything on our machine or in the electronics or the motors, the actual whole chassis with all the engineering, the shafts, the gearing, everything is actually submerged in oil and it is run. So every single part of it is completely lubricated.
That sounds horrendously messy.
It can be.
Yeah.
Unless you had the right, obviously, tooling where it's actually in a proper bath on a chassis actually working
That's
there.
so clever.
And it's exactly the same, obviously, what we do with our industrials.
Right.
Is because, and that's why, so as soon as we take it out the box and then we sort of run it, you will hear just how smooth it is. So that's, well, I think that was just under a metre fabric. Quick, easy, and absolute perfect finish. I don't know which camera angle we might.
Do you want that on a there you go on your
There
close-up.
on there. So as we can see on there, absolutely perfect finish. On the edge there, balanced tensions on there. So, and that is the thing, the machines, they're ready to go as soon as you get out of the box. You haven't got to fiddle, you haven't got to play, and that's what you don't want to do as well.
Let's reiterate, this build quality is the same whichever overlocker you get.
From Juki,
It's
absolutely.
the prettiness and the accessibility that changes.
That's it.
In terms of, do you have to thread it yourself or do you have it taken through with a whoosh of air? That's the difference. That is the main difference. The build quality is the same. So if you are looking for an overlocker, if this is in your price range, look at this one, please. Look at this one. It's not a matter of a lesser machine. And this is what we call the entry level one, which is crazy given it's the same quality build wise as the others. So if you can get your head round how to thread it, then I would urge you to save your money for fabric. Lift that up a little bit.
Oops, sorry, on that one. So again, this is going onto a stretch fleece, a double fleece on there as well. So even if I pull that, obviously I'm using a gold orange thread. I can open that up, and again, you do not see the stitches in between, and that's again that's perfectly balanced tensions.
That's what you want.
Obviously, the fabric itself is quite a lot thicker, and as you can see, again, perfectly balanced on the edge of the fabric again. So you don't see any difference between that stitch and then on the calico what we did, it's exactly the same. So this is again that performance level, but also it shows you that build quality as well, where it's going to treat the fabrics exactly the same rather than you having to play, having to adjust and fiddle.
Normally, we would start with the most expensive machine, then work our way back.
Yeah.
I love that we've started with the least expensive, and we know we're going to get the same quality of stitch on all of those machines.
That is it. And this is the thing is obviously with our overlockers, we do not do what we classify budget overlockers at the end of the day. There's certain criteria, there's certain features in the machine. It costs money to build it. So when we build a machine, we basically build a machine and then put the price to it.
Yeah.
Where some companies, right, I want a machine at that price. So they have to build it to that price. And therefore you're going to have inferior parts in there and things like that. So this is why when you can hear the machine, you can hear how smooth it is. Tungsten tip blades on there as well. So again, very important that way. So blade systems on some overlocker, there's a budget, I'm not going to say a budget overlocker, it's nearly £300 now, obviously it's not a Juki out there. The blades alone for a set of blades are nearly £70 to replace. And they're just steel blades. So this is a tungsten tip blade. If you ever have to replace it on there, like you don't obviously put pins through it or something like that, it's the same, it will take a chip out of it. That blade to replace is £13.
Right.
So again, it's things like that is.
And because you are making these things yourself, that's the other thing.
That's it. It's not a third party doing it or anything there.
That really sunk in for me when you came after COVID, and that was the thing. And other sewing machine companies had struggled to get parts manufactured and made because of factories being shut. Juki was still making their own.
Yes, well that's it. We are our own manufacturer on there.
So they weren't having to replace with inferior or lesser quality products. They were still making their own.
Yeah, and this is why then suddenly there was a long delays on things as well, because if you haven't got the parts, we're not just going to go somewhere else to get a replacement part because it will do.
No.
Then no, because you can have a single component in a machine which can let the whole machine down if it's a weak component.
Yeah.
So on there, which is, I say, it's not our reputation. We don't want our reputation on that.
No.
So, but also, as you say, even though with our sewing machines, whether you start with our G series, which is our most basic Juki sewing machine, you are still getting the box feed, the DC motor, the heavy chassis. The important things. So when you are doing sewing, it sews and doesn't matter what you're sewing through, and then you go up the range and then you can add say attachments to it, you can add stitches to it, you can add memory to it, you can add screens to it, but we've not changed the sewing system.
We did have a quick question actually about the TLs that we've got and what's coming with those, what feet. Oh no, are the feet compatible within the TL series?
Right, yes they are. Yeah.
There you go.
Again, all industrial high fitting feet on there. So I can actually get, and what we do as well, from our full industrials, I can go to our industrial range, take the feet from, not all of them, because there's obviously many different types of industrials, and I can use all my industrial feet on the TL range.
Right,
so
okay, thank you.
Proper piping feet, proper gathering feet, left and right, narrow, wide. So yeah, the whole range, all compatible to TL range.
Perfect.
Yeah, no problem.
Perfect.
So then
what else are we sewing through here then?
So from there, this is tapestry, upholstery fabric.
We've had
again,
a lot of tapestry fabric of late.
Very tough on that. Obviously soft furniture, obviously we know it frays and falls apart very, very easily. So we want to seal it, we want to finish it. But why not then seam it at the same time as well? Why, if you're making soft furnishings, soft covers, anything like that.
I use that tapestry fabric for bag making a lot, and I mix it with cork.
But also, this is obviously a much heavier fabric, obviously from the fleece and then the calico. Listen to the machine, feel it's treating it exactly. It doesn't change the sounds, doesn't change the beat on there. And again, if I put that next to the other three fabrics on there, you can see it's exactly the same stitch again. So, and that's the way it should be. So yeah, so very rarely we have the 654s available, is because usually even when we've had them out in other places, they go back to a classroom or somewhere like that. Yeah. But obviously it is a one-off. Again, with the price it is basically half the price of the whoosh system on there. It is a good offer. If you want a tool that just does that job and you can put anything through it and you can say hear and feel how nice it is to use, the 654, so I've been selling this now for over 30 years. Yeah. This is the one, well, this is what my goddaughter's got. This is the one the staff use. Again, obviously the budget allowing to go to her. But with something like that, it is certainly a machine that you can just get on, enjoy overlocking, and then take all the hassle away from playing around with tensions, knowing what fabrics I'm putting through. It's just going to cope with it.
Right.
But
let's have a quick look then at that whoosh.
Yeah.
So that we can. Is there anything else we needed to show on this one? I'm just aware of time that it's 11:15.
Yeah, I've read it. This is right. Yeah, sorry, just give me kicks to get going. So obviously it will do 2 thread, 3 thread, 3 thread roll hem, 2 thread roll hem, and it's got then a differential feed, which is exactly the same on the whoosh as well. So what we do is I'll set the, we have a look at the whoosh, and then I'll do then the 3 thread and the roll hem there as well.
Before we move on, do you have a delicate fabric? Because we've seen calico, we've seen fleece, we've seen tapestry, but what about those flimsy fabrics that are horrible to,
a bit like crystal organza.
Yeah, that one.
Completely see-through crystal organzas on there. So, yeah. So again, going to those extremes again.
Just to check. Sorry, Gary.
No,
and there you go.
absolutely brilliant.
You can tell this show isn't planned. It's ad hoc. And we will put Gary through his paces and the machines.
Well, the great thing about that is putting the machines through the paces, because it's having confidence in your machine to know whatever I'm going to pick up. As you can see, I haven't touched anything at all. And then if we have a look at that.
Nice.
So again, it hasn't pulled it, hasn't puckered it. I'll stand it up again next to the other fabrics as well. As you can see, the stitch is exactly the same.
And you can put PUs through here, leatherettes, all those sorts of things.
There. Again, with the strength of the blade, the feed systems, anything like that. We have just having a little bit of leatherette, a little bit of vinyl, as we had earlier. So again, popping that obviously through construction and things like that. Obviously, it doesn't fray. Then what we can do.
But it's more, for me, it's more for that strength.
Yeah.
So it's not to control the fray, it's to control the strength. And actually sometimes you see this finish on a...
Oh yeah, absolutely. You've got that finish on there, but also then having it necessary on the outside as a creative finish as well. But you say I put a single layer through, and all I've done is doubled it, so obviously as in the seam, and you can say it doesn't treat it, no difference that way, straight through. And then, as we can see on there as well, so we've got our single layer straight through to the double layer, and say it is an upholstery vinyl, very, very tough fabric, and that stitch then is exactly the same as the crystal organza. Nice. Absolutely no difference on there at all. Okay,
so that is on your, and I wince as I say this, your basic entry-level Juki overlocker.
That is it.
Given that this is the entry-level one, because you don't do one.
Again, we don't do budget.
No,
we will not cheapen. The only way you can get a cheaper overlocker.
There is no cheap and cheerful when it comes to an overlocker, is there?
No,
because
and it shouldn't be.
If it's cheap, it won't make you cheerful.
No, that's exactly it on there.
That's it.
Because a lot of time, also, it's a lot of time when people sort of buy these sort of cheap and cheerful budget overlockers on there, they end up either using it once or twice, it breaks a thread, they just stick it in the cupboard, never use it again. Or they end up causing themselves more problems, i.e. Sort of the blade systems, the loopers are weaker, and obviously the main parts, if you end up having to replace loopers, it can actually be a false economy. As you say, with this actual overlocker,
cheap by twice.
Yeah, exactly it. But we've also, we've got them that age, and they are still working perfectly. And that's something, also I go back to Juki as well for our backup service. We support and back all of our machines up. I can still get parts for 30-year-old Juki machines. Absolutely. Yeah. There's big questions where people, who are Juki, I haven't heard of Juki before and things like that, which to a lot of people, certainly with a lot of new sewers, they know the traditional names and things like that because that's what they grew up, that's what they've seen grandma using or whatever that way. Or if you look in a catalogue or things like that, you generally will not see a Juki machine. They're only sold through specialised people like yourself who know what they're sewing or basically want that reliability and support there. Yeah. So through ourselves, obviously, not just having good backup service as in support, help, but long-term backup service as well, because you're investing into it. You want to know you can get parts years down the line.
This is the thing, okay, so I learned on my grandmother's Singer machine. Now that machine is over 60 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, it does a straight stitch, it does a zigzag, that's it. That's all it does. And so, of course, it's still going strong because it only does those. And it's as similar to my semi-industrial,
Yeah.
actually, as you're going to get all metal parts and everything else. Now, my grandmother was a seamstress. If she then came to replace her machine, bearing in mind that she would have had that for 50 years,
Yeah.
there is every possibility that she would have gone, oh, it's a Singer. I've had one of those for however many years.
Yeah.
And be expecting to get the same when she came. Please do your due diligence and find out who manufactures their own machines and who now have sold out or been taken over or bought out, and who is actually still doing the background work to produce these machines, to understand what their needs are for their customer,
Yeah.
who insists on a good quality, because actually that has changed over the years.
Oh, very much so. Mass merchandise is a big, big thing
Yeah.
now. With a lot of the companies, the mass merchandise companies on there, they also build different level of machines. There's a couple of brands out there. I can go and buy a machine at £300 and it will do 200 stitches. It will have the electronic needle up, needle down, the sort of features that we all like on there. That same company will produce a machine at twice the price of that, say £500-600, and it would do exactly the same thing. They were also producing it in a machine at £1,000, which again looks like it would do exactly the same thing. And what they're not telling you is that machine is built of plastic with cheap parts. That middle machine is then slightly stronger, but then that machine at the top of it is then going to be a slightly heavier duty machine on there as well. And that's the same manufacturer. And that's why Juki only start at that high level, because we don't, well, again, we're not fooling our customers on there, but also we're not supplying something that we know, say, you're going to have to replace it in a short period of time.
And this sounds so patronising, and I'm going to really apologise if anyone takes this the wrong way, please don't. You get what you pay for. If you pay £250 for a machine, you are getting a £250 machine. These companies do not do this out of the goodness of their hearts. They are producing machines for you to sell and for you to buy, and it is only worth £250.
Yeah.
You're not getting £1,000 worth of machine for £250. You're just not. I'm really sorry if you think you are, but you're not.
No, absolutely not.
And that's the harsh reality of it. It will do you for so long, for sure.
And it's a lot of time as well with the sales offers on there, when people sort of come to me and say, well, this company's giving that free, or that company's got that with their machines. Why are you not doing that? I want to say to people, nothing's free. It's got to be built in the price somewhere. So obviously, with ourselves, our price is in the build of the machine. If you want, obviously, extension tables or your quilting attachments, you either go up the range, which is then going to have it then built into the machine itself, or you're buying it as an extra. If it suddenly all comes free and it's like £200 worth of free accessories,
It's not.
hang on a minute, that price has got to come from somewhere. That's exactly, yeah.
And that's one of the things I absolutely love about Juki. Again, when people ask me, but why do you only sew with Juki? Because do you know what? I supply them, I stock them, but I also know their integrity, that actually I can go and demonstrate these on a national shopping channel and know that they're not undercutting me, that the price is set. The price is set for a reason.
Yeah.
The price is the price because the price is the price, because that's what the machine costs.
That's it. We don't suddenly do a 50% discount day,
No.
or this or that. We can't do that.
And I know that if there are any extras added, because I know behind the scenes how shopping channels work, because I've worked in them for 10 years, that if they've added a free book or something in, that's having to come from that company. That's not coming from Juki.
No, that's exactly it.
That's
Obviously,
not, because the price of the machine is the price of the machine, the end.
Yeah, and that's when we go on there, is say, over the time, obviously, the years we've been working together.
Yeah.
For instance, like the MO 1000, obviously, it was the first ever machine we sat and we played with. That was over 10 years ago, that was.
Yeah, that you first brought it on 10 years since
Yeah,
we've been doing it.
that's exactly. This machine hasn't changed one bit.
Yeah.
There's some machines out there when the manufacturing in that, and suddenly a couple of years or whatever down the line, it's got cheaper and cheaper. Either it's being discontinued or it's being made with cheaper parts. Parts don't get cheaper unless you actually source cheaper parts. And that's why 10 years later, yes, this has basically gone up £300. It's because manufacturing's gone up £300. It's not that we're making £300 more extra profit.
And I remember doing that first show with you and saying, I want one of these machines. And I didn't get a hard sell from you. You just said, when you're ready, come and talk to me.
Yep. And
this isn't going anywhere.
When
you're ready, come and talk to me.
The inspiration of sort of that wanting on there. And that's a nice thing with Juki as well. I like to put, and in fact from the beginning as well, I don't like to see myself as a salesperson. Yes, I'm selling, I am a salesperson technically, but I do put myself, I am an engineer first.
I like to think of you as an engineering educator.
Right, thank you. Yes,
indeed. That's
yeah.
how I view you. And if people then choose to buy from you, it's due to the knowledge that you impart, not because you've given any pushy sales or anything like that. You've educated, and then people can make an informed choice as to where they want to put their money. We work hard for our money, and so you should, you choose the world you want to live in with the purchases you make. Yeah,
very much so. And it's like also that side of it as well, because of that background and knowledge, where we will get people coming and like maybe exhibitions or something like that, say, right, I've got £500 to spend and I want to do this. Well, realistically, I can't sell you a £500 machine, but if you bought a £500 machine, it's not going to do that anyway.
No.
And we will be honest at that side of it.
It's not always what people want to hear.
No, and very much so. And I know we have necessarily, I'm going to say lost sales, but we know people have not necessarily bought from us, but maybe a year down the line, they've come back and said, I should have bought one of those, or I need to buy one of those now because they bought the wrong machine.
It took me, I was given an Overlocker, and then it took me, and I hated it, and it took me, well, when we first met, Freddie was 1.
Right.
And he was 4.5 when Emily was born, and I bought my Overlocker from you. I rang you during my maternity leave and said, Garry, I'm ready. Yeah,
on there, and that's it. And
so it took me nearly 4 years.
Because it's considered purchase.
Yeah.
As you say, there's others out there on the market as well which can look like they can do the same thing, and within a sales spiel, someone may be able to convince you that it is the same sort of thing. And this is why I say when you actually hear it running, see it running, and just going back to those fabrics as well, as you say, what piece of fabric you got? I'll pick one of those up and I will just sew it because it's confidence in the machine and we do it. And you can say, I haven't sat and fiddled, I haven't played, I've not specifically got them out a day beforehand and really adjust them.
I'm going to be really honest, they came from your van, they're all over the floor here, stacked in their boxes because we were too busy chatting and drinking coffee in the kitchen. I still don't know where my coffee is, I put it down somewhere. But that's what we were doing. We weren't stressing, making sure that we'd got we probably should have been, but we weren't. But because I know I don't have to, because the machines don't need that.
It does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what they should do, especially when you go into that higher level of budget.
Right, let's have a look at this then, because this is next step up.
So,
and we have got other sewing machines to show you. So we are just we're gonna literally thread this, show you what the whoosh technology means, and then we're going to look at the next one.
And then we're going to go through to the next one on that. Excellent. So, right, so as I say, the 654, the manual threading system, still safety cutout features, DC motor, metal chassis, same as with this. Electronics, all got all the safety features on there. Still got the full metal chassis, absolutely everything. But as we say, it's got the whoosh system, and people have got overlockers who are coming to overlockers for the first time may have heard bad stories about the threading. Obviously, as we get older, not even as we get older, sometimes our eyes are not quite there.
When you hit 40, like me, your eyesight goes. That's it.
And then you can make life even easier. And that's by, say, having that whoosh system on there. So what we're going to do now is just how quick and easy it is then with this one. So with a manual threading overlocker, as I said, you have to thread it in the correct order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Specifically, and if a thread comes undone, if it breaks, you do then generally have to unthread it and then re-thread it again
in that same order,
just to make sure they're all crossed in the right order. With an air threading system on there, it doesn't matter what order you thread it in. So I can change one thread if I want to, and it will just do that. Or I can say thread it in any order. So first of all, this lever here, on that, I'm going to flick that up, and then all the tools are nice and handy. So it's just stored. I'll just put that back a little bit there. So you've got all your tools nice handy stored inside there. So as we know, if they're not, or very often they're tucked under some fabric, pushed to one side, and you end up losing them. So nice and easy. So once the lever goes up, the balance wheel on the side of the machine, the same as all machines have got,
then I want to do that. So that's just your balance wheel on there. So same as what every sewing machine has got there. So like all sewing machines and overlockers, always turn balance wheel towards you, never turn it backwards. Because again, especially when the machine's threaded, because you end up looping the threads the wrong way, and that's the easiest way to start sewing snap threads. So always rotate. There is an arrow on here showing you that, but it is a rule of thumb on any sewing machine, any overlocker, always turn the hand wheel forwards. What I'm going to do, turn it towards now, you're going to hear a click and you're going to see some tubes hopefully move here. There, that's it. So now we've activated the threading system. And because it is its own passage, that's why it can be threaded in any order, because it's got its own crossing. So I'm going to take the first thread because it's next to me. It's still all colour coded. So this one is the red dot, down through the guide, behind the guide, pull myself a little bit of a tail, and then about 1 centimetre, just sort of under ½ an inch thereabouts. I'm just going to pop that into the hole against the one with the red dot on it, like so. Just poke that in, and then what we're going to do is we've got the air on button. So as I press that, just for a couple of seconds, if we watch here, this is where the thread's going to come out. And therefore, I'll do that again.
I have to tell you, the last overlocker that we've just looked at, well done, that's gone.
Well, enjoy the overlocker, and again, what we'll say to all of our machines, don't hesitate, any questions or queries, just give me a buzz, absolutely no problem. So we press that again, and it's going to make me see, why is it not working? There we go, and then it just shoots straight through, and there we have.
So if it doesn't work first time, what I've found, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that generally I haven't stuffed the thread far enough in.
That's it, usually just poke a little bit more in. What my mistake was then is, and it's something sort of we will say when people phone.
I like to talk about mistakes because we do them.
We all do them.
And the thing is that a lot of shopping channels want to just display the ideal image. That's not true. If this happens, what do we do?
Right.
What happens?
So what I actually did on that one is when I put the lever up and turned it over and connected it all, I actually then showed you and put the lever back down again and automatically put it back up again, which automatically engages the tubes, but obviously without it turning the hand wheel, it doesn't engage them properly. So I've got a little gap, which is the air then, so it doesn't whoosh through. Yeah. So if that does happen, again, people already with the overlocker or coming to it for the first time, if you then click it, lock it into position and then turn it over, then once you've done that, if you do actually take the lever down again, re-go through that motion so it then seals itself properly.
It's like turning it off and on again, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's basically that.
That is what you're doing on there.
And on again, yes.
So with a couple of questions as well as we go through, then do they go wrong? Do they ever have problems? What happens if they do go wrong? Well, with overlockers, obviously fluff and thread is a thing. This is tubing. So if you ever get fluff or thread or anything caught, this has actually got it's like a little wire. It's a proper twisted, what we call a cleaning wire, basically. So if you did find that either you've got it not into the hole properly and it's not whooshing through, or you've done what I did so it doesn't whoosh through, if there happens to be a little bit of fluff or thread, then it does come with a cleaning rod. You just poke it in, it just takes it through, and it will then clean it out for you. So that's a simple. As far as the actual mechanics of it goes, this is not like the older fashioned ones, or it's not like some of the more budget airflow ones on the market today, which use a bellows system. And that's like a rubber bellows system inside the machine where you've got a pump lever, so you're trying to activate it that way. This air on button is literally taking the air straight from the motor on the outside, so there is actually no moving parts within that. So the reliability, as I say, I've been supplying this actual overlocker now, well, nearly 15 years, and they've not changed a single part on there. That's the reliability of it.
This is the MO1000.
Yes.
Okay, we have got £300 off this.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, there is £300.
I've got 2 of these, and I've got £300 off.
And there's £300 off,
and these are going up. in price all the time.
All the time on there. As you say, when we first started all those years ago, you say they were under £1,000.
Yeah.
But again, with the manufacturing costs and things like that, we won't just make it with cheaper parts and keep the price down. Manufacturing costs more. It is what it is. The price has gone up. But even though they are at that higher price on there, they are still worth, personally, they're still worth every single penny of it. Because you compare it to some other sort of top of the range ones, they are still very good budget.
So this is on at £1,095.
Yeah.
So when we first started, they were basically $999.
Yes.
So instead of having that nearly £400 hike, you're basically paying 10-year-old prices today.
On that, exactly. You say, you literally look on the internet now, sort of the websites out there. If you go to like Franklin's, you will see they are $13.95 on there. So no, it is again, these are genuine savings that we're giving. They're not a gimmick, just sales thing. It is genuine on there. So again, air on button, and there you go. That's your second looper. Quick and easy.
Oh, hang
way.
on. So quick I didn't change the angle.
Oh, sorry. Let me pull that one back out again, and we can then start that one again. No problem.
No one trying to thread an overlocker ever. Just let me rethread that for you. That's no problem. Just spin that around for me a little bit so that we don't get your arm in the way. Just got to think that camera is coming from up there.
Yeah. So that's okay there. Now I just try and keep my arm away from that one.
Sorry, Gary.
That's no problem. So
I know it's like every studio, those cameras are at different angles.
So there we go. So it's just into the hole, into there.
Yeah.
And then so just poke the end in, and then if we watch where the end of the tweezers are, press the air on button. There you go.
Amazing.
Done. So that is your two loopers, and as we say, they're sort of the awkward ones, as such to say.
So that's the underbit done. The underbelly is threaded.
That's it.
Forget about that now.
And then we can forget that. But obviously the other thing with not just an overlocker, but on a sewing machine, it's the needles. The eyes of the needles, for some reason, the eyes seem to get smaller and smaller every year. I'm sure that's more me than of it, an actual thing. So we have got built-in needle threaders as well.
Yes.
So question I get a lot, so sort of while we're answering that, overlockers don't have twin needles. So obviously you see two needles, and obviously for your sewing machine, so many people are used to a twin needle.
Yeah.
These are two individual needles.
Yes.
So as I say, flat-sided, same as your sewing machine, size 80 is what I use. So what we're going to do, the green one this time. So the top bit is quite similar to any other machine, down, through, over, behind the guide.
Could you just move that? Yeah, so we need to have a little look now at the other bits now.
So actually, if I do it like that, that would probably be easier because it's the needles here. So before I use the needle threader, like I did with the other one, I actually take both threads and then bring them both down to the needle. So the top bit again is just behind. So not quite. Also, that bit's very simple that way. But then the key thing is when I get down to the needles. So I'm going to put the needle bar down, take off the threading device, and I'm just going to lower the needles down, just so we can physically see. There's two little guides here. So all I'm going to do is you've got your right hand guide and my left hand guide. Like that, that's just now done. So on the side of the balance wheel, there is a little mark. And then by lining that up, it's going to put the needles now in the highest position. So again, not just Juki sewing machines, not just Juki overlockers, but basically all sewing machines out there and overlockers. If you've got a built-in needle threader, always make sure the needle's in the highest position. Even if you use it when the needles are not, then that's the quickest way that you can bend that tiny, tiny little hook on the needle threader, and you only have to do it once, and therefore it can then throw the needle threader out.
Right, let's talk about needle threaders very, very quickly. They are not covered by any guarantee. They are
a consumable part. That's it, yeah.
And that took me a while to get my head around because I didn't realise how easy, first of all, they were to bend, snap, do whatever.
Yeah.
And the really annoying thing about them, if I'm being completely honest, is that the time that you are most likely to accidentally bend them or break them is when you start out with your machine and you don't know it very well.
That is it.
And then you go, my needle threader doesn't work, my machine is rubbish. No, you just made an error, you get another one, you pop it off, you pop it back on again with a new one, and hooray, you have a working one. But just if you haven't put that needle in that uppermost position and you bend it, that's on you. and I'm really sorry, that's blunt.
Oh, no, it is. That
it's
is
on you,
that's exactly it.
And Juki will say it to you much more politely than that, but that's it, and you just have to get another one, pop it off, pop it on, and away you go.
Very much so.
I try and keep a spare where I can. In fact, I forgot to ask you to bring me one, because again, my machines go up and down the motorway a lot, my very hard-working machines. And so, sometimes they
and
get
if you get
bent
someone new
whatever.
use it, haven't used it before, and they just try and use it and not know that, and again, they're going to cause that problem straight away.
Yeah.
Well, even goes one step further where we know how much of an issue it can cause, because a lot of people, you say, when it's a brand new machine, you're not sure that the needle position needs to be in its highest, and that's why I like to sort of reiterate that now, that make sure it's in the highest position. Actually, on all of our boxes, we've produced stickers now that we've put on the outside of our box. This has got a built-in needle threader. It must be used in this way, because we know what an issue it can be for the new sewer. But as you say, once you do it wrong once, then you generally will never do it wrong again. But it's always the same. When you first get the machine, as you say, you then think it's a bad thing.
You have to buy another one.
That's right, yeah.
And then you might learn for the third time. And that's okay. You know, that's okay too, but just know that it's not covered.
No, it's not. But also then what I can sort of say with ourselves on that, with Juki, not all of our needle threaders, but 90% of our needle threaders literally clip on and off. It's a simple part you can change at home.
So the good thing is you don't have to send your machine back to have a needle threader replaced. You ring Juki, they send it out. And if you don't know how to do it, guess what? You get on FaceTime and you give them a call and they talk you through it. End of.
That's it, and it's a phase. So such an easy thing to do for ourselves, and also then because of that, because not being a warranty part, if you do have to then send your machine back to another manufacturer, so they actually then have to replace it, they will charge you labour for doing that.
Yeah, for a piece that costs what?
Well, for us, £5-6.
Yeah.
For others, say it's that part can be quite expensive.
But if you have to ship the haul, if you have to pay for shipping to get it there
yeah.
and everything else,
you're sending you've got sort of £30 in postage plus labour for them because it's not covered by warranty.
Yeah.
Where ourselves say we know it's a consumable part, we have designed it so you can actually do it yourself at home without tools as well.
Yeah.
You're not unscrewing things and doing things like that. So
perfect.
Again, looking after it that way. So going to the needle threaders. So the needle threader is this lever on the side here. So you can see you just bounce it up and down. And then you've got this little switch here. I can move it, click it to the left or click it to the right. And it literally, it's that sort of 3mm movement between the two.
Yeah.
And that's all you need on there. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm just going to put the foot down just so we've got a little bit more of a visual. I'm going to just click it over then to the right hand needle to start off with. And this is another thing about our needle threaders. They are sort of more one-step needle threaders, i.e. I'm not having to bring it down, hold it, turn it in. It's got an auto turn system on. You can see I've let go of it, it's locked itself into position. I can now just take the thread, bring it in front of the needle threader. So I've just clipped the thread onto the tiny little hook, lever, up, and there's my loop. So that has now then threaded then the right hand needle. So I'll just take that tail and pull that through. And then we have then got obviously then our left hand needle, and then for that we've got that little lever there, flick it over to the left. Again, I'm just going to lock that down in position, hook the thread on, and then up we go, and there we go. That is the whole overlocker threaded nice and easy, no little holes to go through. We've got some cork.
I've just seen lots of questions on Facebook going,
Absolutely
can you
brilliant.
overlock cork fabric, sewable cork fabric? Well, let's see, shall we?
Yep, let's put that to test. Absolutely no problem.
That was very subtle of me, wasn't
That
it,
was
Garry?
it. There you go. Have that.
There it is. Ka-thunk. Have a look at that.
So what I've done is, again, like I did before, sew a few stitches in by hand because then I can get rid of all of those tails, so I've not got any loose threads to catch in. So that is it. That's the whoosh system. That is how easy. The loopers, the needles, again, those little eyes, automatically just done for you as well. But obviously with the looper system, the whoosh system underneath, all those guides, it takes that out of the equation. And the great thing with that, hopefully it means you're going to change your colours regularly, you're going to match your colours in, you're going to enjoy your overlocker more, and then obviously not be frightened and think, oh no, I've got to re-thread it, or hope the thread doesn't break, which again, it's not just the threading, it is that performance level. And you can see whatever we put through it, again, there's less chance of the threads breaking. It just performs and acts so well. So, right, we have got lovely metallic face cork on there. So on that, so I'll cut a piece of this off, or is that okay?
You do whatever you want.
Yep, I'll just cut a piece off on there. So again, obviously with the cork, we know it doesn't fray, but obviously construction and things like that, finishing it off, then absolutely why not? So I'm just going to fold it.
Well, and also we make a lot of bags and pouches and things like that.
That's
here.
exactly.
You know, that's the thing. So it's getting that robust finish.
So and that's what obviously an overlocker will give you, having those 2 needles, giving you those 2 rows of stitches on there. Obviously gives you full elasticity, but obviously gives you the extra strength as well. So all I've done is just folded it in half, obviously put the inside in. What I'm going to do on this, being that slightly heavier, stitch length on the sides of the machine, again the same as what we saw on the 654, is you've got your differential feed and then your stitch length. Average, they say about 2.5. Going up to heavier weight fabrics, I will automatically turn the stitch length up. I won't touch anything else. The tensions are all on number 4. We can see it all in there. So again, that's our even tension, so we won't touch that at all. And then let's just pop that under. So again, just been throwing it at me. Never tried it before. We've never seen it. This is a live experiment. What's going to happen? And away we go. So as you can hear, the machine itself, again, very smooth, very quiet. Again, cork being a little bit stiffer. All I've done is that first bit that it's cut off. Obviously, I've just folded it under, so it naturally then we're going to take it out of the way. But there you go. It doesn't change.
The answer is yes.
No difference, exactly it. The answer is very much yes. And then if we hold that up, as we can, oh, there we go. As we can see on there, absolutely perfect stitch. I say, I've never stitched on that before. I have full faith.
Can you open it up so we can see what it looks like, where it's stitched?
That is your seam.
Nice.
Again, very strong. Obviously, I'm really stretching out. You can't see the stitches at all. And obviously for construction, absolutely strong enough. If you're, say, making a quick bag, a quick pouch, then I can literally do that, sew down the seam. Right, so if we open that up into the corner, fold it back on itself. So I've got no little tools from a corner pushers or anything like that, so excuse me for
right.
get it as tight as I can on there.
You have an assistant. I
say there we have one nice bag. Or we say we've got a doggy hat. You like my machines there. And then full construction, very, very easy, very, very simple, all on the inside there.
Perfect.
So, yeah, again, fabrics like that, absolutely no problems at all. And you could hear the machine didn't struggle.
Nope.
Obviously, I'm not helping the fabric through at all because, again, as I say, very important that you shouldn't be pushing fabrics into your machine. So, yeah, the original whoosh, the MO1000, say, I've been selling this, it was my #1 whoosh machine, and it still is my #1 whoosh machine by a long, long way.
So today, if you want, I've got 2 of these, and they are available at basically 10-year-old prices.
Absolutely,
That's
yes,
it.
indeed.
And when they're gone, they're gone.
Again,
and then if you want to buy one that hasn't been out of the box, you're looking at £1,395. If you want to save yourself £300 and you're after an overlocker, then today may well be that day for you. That's all the sales I'm going to do. It's just letting you know. That's it. These machines speak for themselves. Right, Gary.
Yes.
Very, very quickly, we've got, what is the difference between this and then we've got one of this,
right.
which could be mine at the end of the day. It probably needs to be.
Well, this is what we have talked about earlier.
If it hasn't been sold, it will be staying.
So this is the 2500. So why? Have we done it? Did we need to do it? What advantages is it going to give the user?
Is
That's
there a
right. Yeah.
need?
Again, it's where some people there's machines out there where they've got such a huge range and there's so little difference between them. They're just producing machines for the sake of producing the machines. Again,
And it's confusing.
well, and that's exactly it. It's confusing, but also for future proofing as well, to try and back up those slightly differences on machines is not easy. And as I say, when we build a machine, we support it on there. So we know that decades later, we can still look after them, we can still service them. But that's because it's that point of not being disposable. As we say, we know there's some machines out there where once you've bought them, even if they're under guarantee or 2 years old, they're just not worth repairing if you have to have them cost repair. But cost of servicing now on machines, these machines look after themselves a lot more as well. You don't need to service every year. Again, I've got people with these of that age. If you brush them out regular, yes, there is a drop of oil you need to put on the overlockers, only in 2 places, but change the needles regular. These basically will go on without you having to have them serviced in there. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, if you're using them every day or semi-commercially or something like that, then yes. That's also another point that I will say as well. Juki being Juki, we know these are used commercially, semi-commercially, etc. That we still back up that warranty.
Oh,
obviously,
amazing.
very important. If you are using other manufacturers' machines and you're using them commercially, semi-commercially, check that warranty point, because I can guarantee you other brands out there will not back that machine up as a semi-commercially used machine, that you have voided your warranty on there.
Very good point.
We know the build quality of our machines are used for that. We back it up for that as well.
Right, so this one that we are looking at here is the MO 2500.
Exactly it, yeah.
And like I say, if this hasn't sold by the end of the day, then it will be sold because it will be staying with me. Right, we're not going to take all the tape off
On
because...
well, again, with something like this, it's not that it does any more stitching.
No.
It's so 2 thread, 3 thread, 4 thread with differential feed and built-in roll hem.
What am I paying extra
You
for?
are paying for those going up to now some commercial industrial features on there.
Okay.
If you, for a domestic user, just home dressmaking and things like that, to be fair, this is more than what most people may want.
Okay.
Again,
so,
we're honest.
So save yourself.
Save
and go
yourself
for that
the
one.
money. The MO 1000 will do everything that you want it to do.
Okay.
If you are specifically using heavier, bulkier threads, if you are using it then sort of 6 hours a day or something like that, then yes, this is slightly faster, slightly stronger, but it has commercial features on it. And what I'm saying there, it has got the knee lifter on it.
Right.
And knee lifter is one of those things, if you use your machines and you've had a knee lifter, you generally don't look back because it gives you an extra hand on there. But it's one of those things, if you haven't used a knee lifter and you've got one, please give it a go. It's not frightening.
No, I never
on
have.
that.
I never have.
Yeah, but it literally gives you an extra hand. But what it will also do, where on overlockers and sewing machines, I don't know if we can get slightly closer on there, that if we look, we've got our normal lift. If I plug it in, we can get a bit of light over the subject as well. That does help.
Which bit do we need to look at?
So if we look at the foot here, that's it. So we've got our normal lift. Then so with that, we've also, like if you see it move up, we've got extra high lift on here. So
bulkier fabrics.
For bulkier
are
fabrics,
catered for.
exactly it. But the great thing with the knee lifter will actually give you that double lift.
Oh,
so
okay.
you've then got both hands still free for your bulky controlling your fabrics. Instead of having to take one away, obviously, for the foot lift at the back.
Lift to turn.
We have then got our knee lifter, which will allow us to keep both hands control, but giving you the extra high clearance on there. So again, it's that industrial feature, which once you get used to a knee lifter, is absolutely brilliant. But I do know, I've got to say, probably 80% of people who have got a knee lifter on their machine don't use it.
Do you know what? I've never used it, but that's because I sew standing up.
Yeah.
So it's impossible for me to use a knee lifter because I sew.
I have got a thigh.
All right, stay hips.
I have got a thigh as well. We call it a knee lifter because you're usually sitting down, but it does actually, when you're here and you are moving,
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can use it on your fire as well. So again, it's just a movement that way. So, see, I don't take any excuses. I don't care what they are. You're not getting out of that one.
I just thought I couldn't because, name implies I needed my knee.
Yeah,
And,
so yeah, that's it. But no, it is it's just as long as you're moving it sideways and say, I've done it standing up as you know, when we're doing sort of TV, a lot of time we are standing up on there. Then the only disadvantage sometimes with obviously benches that it does need to be space. So I'm not saying you've got lots of stuff under here, but obviously
I've
there.
got lots of stuff
but
under there,
as you say,
Garry.
when I'm standing here, that's you can see it was sort of down there. That's just using my thigh, and it's working exactly the same. So
okay.
So
Well,
no,
I'll
definitely.
take that excuse and
They call it a knee lifter, but it can be used in other
Leg
ways.
lifter.
A leg lifter, exactly it.
So we're working with longer hours, thicker fabrics, knee lifter. What else am I getting with this machine?
Yep. So keeping on the lifter point, we have what we call a micro lifter. So this is quite specialised and it's generally only available on industrial machines. And it's like when the difference where we've got our high-speed industrial, the TL machines, while we brought out the TL 300.
Right.
Because again, you get to a limit and the 200 for most people, it was more than what they need.
Yeah.
They just love that performance and they will never outgrow that.
Yeah.
But then there's sometimes you want to go then to more of the extremes.
Yeah.
So the micro lifter, again, that industrial feature on there, it allows you, again, we're going to turn this in here so we can see. So basically, without me lifting the foot at all, if you watch the foot, can you see it lifting? I'm going to put it down again. You see it just slightly moving up and down on there. So basically what that is, we have got foot pressure, the same as any other machine on there. But the foot pressure, again, does what it says on the tin, but it doesn't give you any extra clearance. So when you're using bulky fabrics, obviously the foot pressure will still pressurise it, or you can take the pressure off so it maybe not grip it as much. So what we want on the thicker fabrics is pressure, but we want clearance. So again, this is where that industrial development, so it allows us then to, as we can see, we can lift the foot to give us a better gap on there. So again, we can then take it up. So we're using really heavyweight fabrics. We've now given us more clearance, but we've still got full foot pressure. So again, it's sort of one of those things. It's talking to people. It doesn't seem, sometimes it doesn't sound like it's coming out right, but you will, when you use it, then you know a real big difference on there. Okay. So again, mainly for those heavier, bulky fabrics. Also for knitwear, it's fantastic on knitwear, especially, don't give you things like 4-ply up to about a double knit, most overlockers will cope with without a problem at all. Because that's another thing where people don't use. If you are a knitter, cut and sew on overlockers is fantastic. So it's absolutely brilliant that way. And then with the micro lifter, it allows you to then use those bulkier fabrics, but without then squashing the fabric. So when it's sewing it, it sews it at more of an even rate, which again gives you a continuity of stitch. So it's taking it to a next level, and because of then the micro lifter for heavier weight fabrics, we've now got a micro stitch finger.
Whoa, we're going to what?
So
We're going to what now?
I'm going to just turn it, oh sorry, that's now here. That little dial there. So a lot of people up there will ask me, have I stitch width on an overlocker? Overlockers don't have stitch width. There's no zigzag control, there's no changing bite control or anything like that. But on this one, again, we've got what we call a micro finger. And basically what it will do, it moves a plate within the needle plate, so it will either then make your stitches wider than what they would normally be. So it's...
Hang on, but with an overlocker,
Yeah.
I thought I changed the width of it by where I cut it.
Right, but you're not changing the size of the stitch. All you're doing is cutting off more or less fabric, but the stitch will always stay the same. So the way you change the stitch, you use then 2 needle or 3 needle. So it gives the 2 needle or 1 needle even. So it'll give you a 3 thread, which is in a narrow stitch, or you can move the other needle, which then gives you a slightly wider stitch. But the stitch will always stay the same size. So if I put my hand out like that, basically, if we see, this is your overlocking stitch here.
Hang on, I'm going to have to go overhead if you're doing
Yeah.
overheady things. Yeah.
Yeah, so on there. So this is then, naturally, that's always going to be the width of your stitch. It can't actually change there because
Right.
your needles are set and you've got no control of zigzag movement on there.
Okay.
So the micro stitcher basically has got another finger as such which will move left and right. So I'm taking it out. So instead of now the stitch being this big, that comes out, the stitch is now this big. And then for real bulkier fabrics, you want really a wider stitch. And
Yeah, because and that kind of gives you this. Yes. Okay.
it's more, yeah, it's hard to say, but and it's also, you won't even, when you're stitching it, you don't even notice. The only time you notice it when you haven't got it, you're trying to use more upholstery fabrics and things like that. And you can see what we've done with the MO1000 and the 654, it will still cope with that, but industrially, where you want a stronger, wider seam on some real heavier weight fabrics, this will now allow us to do it with the microstitcher. So it's little features on the machine that most people won't even know about, won't even need. But when you take your then sewing to that next level and you're then, especially then soft furnishing, and I am going to sort of say it's more for that sort of heavier weights rather than the lighter weight fabrics. And then this will give you then the advantage of the knee lifter for bulky fabrics with the extra high clearance. It also then comes with the micro lifter on the actual foot, again for those heavier bulky fabrics, and then it also then comes with a micro finger, which then will allow you to do then wider stitching, again for the heavier, bulkier fabrics.
Perfect.
Obviously, having those, you've still then everything else exactly the same, so you're not losing anything. You are just gaining those extra features on there.
That's very
So,
clever.
and that is the 2500 on there.
Perfect.
But just say with those features, obviously.
So that is, in 2 hours, we've done 3 overlocker machines.
Yeah.
What have we got next then, Gary?
Right. So the big thing at the moment, which everybody seems to be asking about, because I think it has just recently appeared on a sewing show.
I mean, yes.
Is.
Oh, by the way, on that one, there's a £300 discount on that one as well.
Yes, there is on that one. Yes, indeed. And so that's is something that we haven't sort of done a lot with at all, because it is a little bit more of a specialist market of somebody who knows and uses an overlocker a lot for specific things on there.
Yeah.
So on that, where obviously with the MO1000s, that for domestic home use just makes life so much easier, so much more fun that way. So this is a cover stitch machine. There's a lot of people who I see when they come up to me thinking overlockers will do a cover stitch, because...
Okay, so firstly, what is the difference then between an overlock?
So an overlock overlocks. I'm going to say this, and it is one of those things where an overlock overlocks, but an overlock is for edging.
Right.
So it will cut and seal and finish the edge of your fabric. A cover stitch machine is for hemming.
Right.
So, i.e., we've all got a garment somewhere. I'm not going to flash too much, but if I look at the bottom of my hem, where I've got 2 rows of stitching on top, and then I turn it underneath, and because it looks like I've got overlocking at the back, but that's actually the cover stitch underneath on there. So, with an actual cover stitch, again, it's that tool just to do a fantastic hem finish on there. So, this one's got 3 needles. You can use it with 2 needles wide, 2 needle narrow, or 3 needle. Again, depending on the finish that you want, because a lot of time now when you look at garments, they're putting cover stitches on the outside, and we're using decorative thread, so it looks really, really nice. But again, obviously for sportswear, for t-shirting, anything like that, having that proper hem, that cover stitch hem, and obviously, as I say, recently on a sewing program, a lot of people have been trying to use a cover stitch. I say trying because a few of them refused to use them because the ones that got on there weren't particularly great. So,
did they not use Juki ones?
No, well, again, there's certain things we can say and can't say because there's a TV program at the moment going to be coming out, which is going to be on ITV. Actually, I think I could say because it's quite soon. Actually, it's Sew the Nation.
Right.
We have just now finished all production on that with all Juki sewing machines, and it's more for.
Is that where my iron came from?
That's exactly where your iron came from,
Yeah.
and it's that next level up of more people who want to go into professional sewing.
Yeah.
So, obviously, as we know in the last few programs, there's been a lot of sort of sort of internet moaning and groaning about the machines are letting the sewers down. Obviously, with the upgraded sewing program, they've come to Juki. We've supplied everything for them on there. So so that's coming out, I believe, in September. That program is
cool.
on there.
Very, very quickly before we get into this, Sue says, does Garry ever have a reconditioned blind hemming machines?
Right, Juki themselves don't produce a domestic blind hemmer.
Right.
We do sell them on there. It is rarely that they come up because it's one of those tools that they're not sold a great deal of them, and people who buy them specifically buy them to do certain jobs. So therefore, once you've got one, you'll never let it go.
Right.
We do know there's some blind hammers out there now you can get for about £300-ish and things like that. And it, again, like all overlockers, like sewing machines, it looks like they do the same thing. The cheap ones are made of such cheap metal. It hasn't got the precision. So our hammers, obviously we've not brought one on here before, but it could be a next show that we could bring one on. Even though they're not Juki, obviously we do still sell them being that commercial base machine, and they start from about 600. Our ones do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, this is good to know. I've got a message from Auntie Lizzie. Would the micro lifter be better for velvet on the overlocker?
Again, yes, that's another good reason on there, because it's Draylons, velvets, anything like that, because you can lift the foot. So all I'm going to say is to the DX7, obviously it's got what they call a floating foot on that. It's the same kind thing. Where obviously it's electronic on the DX, where it's mechanical on here. But as you, ideal for things like velvet, anything with that lofty pile where you don't want to crush it, and when you sew it, you don't want to leave any marking on there. So great question on that one, brilliant. So no problem. So cover stitch machine. So a lot of people, you look at it, it looks like an overlocker, but it's got one looper, not two loopers on that. So let's adjust. Oh no.
There you go.
So because it's at the side this time in here. So this is the threading. Your looper is here. So it's underneath the needles as we normally do, but this is the threading part for the looper. There is all diagrams, and again, it is all colour coded. And I think it's quite simple, but because it's different to what most people have seen before, it looks a bit more complicated. But you've got that, then combined with either 2 or 3 needles. Again, domestic flat-sided 705 needles, the same as all of our overlockers and machines on there. So nothing special to get used to on there. So.
And we have got £150 off
of this one, yes, indeed, So, again, it's not something that we have very often. But because of what's been happening on the sewing program, sort of the uptake and the people asking about these it's just flown. It really has flown. And yes, there are obviously budget level ones available as well. And again, all I would say, you get what you pay for. And when you are using one of these and trying or seeing one of these for the first time, like I do, make sure it takes the bulkier fabrics, the stretch fabrics, that it goes over seams without all the missing of stitching and things like that, because that is the issues on budget cover stitch machines. So on there. So with this one, first of all, I am going to thread the looper. So it comes from over the top, and then at the back of the machine, this is where, let me just take that out of the way. Make sure I don't trip over into the machine. Get a nice pile behind me now on there.
Do you want me to come and move some out of the way?
No, that's all right, no problem. It's just trapping me in. I can't go anywhere.
Oh, perfect.
So that is it. You've got me now. That's it. So the looper actually then, I know we can see, there's a guide at the back here. So it actually comes then from the guide following it through. So what we do, it's all colour coded as I say on that. We've got purple guide, just clicks in into the back there. So obviously got the big reflection off the top of my head then. Thanks for that one.
Pleasure.
On there.
It's not, I call it root cam normally. It's the gentle reminder that certain roots need touching up.
I've got nothing left to touch up. It's like it's gone. I've got to say there's a story on there. One of the first time. it was obviously one of the first times on there. My goddaughter, or the youngest of my goddaughters, obviously just growing up with. So 10 years ago, obviously she was this sort of size next to me. And obviously never seen the top of my head before, really, I would say. First time it was on TV, and obviously I bent down in front of the camera. The first thing my goddaughter said to me, "Can't believe how bold you are."
Yeah.
Like,
Thanks.
oh, I can feel the love there, can't I?
That was your only takeaway. I
nothing
imparted
to-
all this knowledge,
Exactly,
and your only
all on there.
takeaway was
Can't believe how bold you are.
Gotta love them, haven't you? You've got to love them, because apparently you can't do anything else to them.
Too right. And say today she's a great sewer. She's just finished all university and all of that. She loves it all. So
Amazing.
yes, indeed. Obviously, you can tell Christmas is an expensive time for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet Uncle Gary does not disappoint.
Oh yes. So right. So colour coding again, round through the guide, round the tension, over the guide, through the guide. So this is the little bit difference. So it just clips up under the guide, and then it's colour coded again at the back, underneath the guide. So it just wraps around, pulls forward, again clips into the guide. So this is now where the looper is. So I press the little white button there, which actually drops the looper down. Again, makes it easier to thread. Then it goes underneath, and then threaded through the little pigtail guide. And then with this one, all we do, pour myself a little bit of a tail, find my tweezers, as I say, which we bury. Oh, there we go, right next to me. And then what we would then do, there's two holes. There's a slot at the back of the looper at the bottom, so it comes in from the back, like so. Oh, there we go. Just pull that through, and then we've got the eye of the looper, which then we just thread through, and there we have it threaded. Use the tweezers properly. There we go.
Well, and also we've put you at a really awkward angle.
On there, so
just for anyone that's sort of going, oh, yeah.
I'd like to put it through my trials and that, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, again, with something like that, it shows, obviously, it's simple. I'm not really looking where I'm going, because it is just click, 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 click.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to precisely, apart from obviously the looper part, it is that simple to go through on there. And then I just lock that back up into place, and I'm going to break off a bit of the tail, and then I can then pass that through, because what I don't want to happen with that thread, and it's the same as all threads, obviously I don't want to trap it in any of the covers.
No.
As soon as you do that, obviously it's just going to snap the threads to start off with on there. So there we go, that was nice and easy. And then the next three is pretty much similar to your sewing machine, or similar to obviously certainly the 654 overlocker. And then we take it up. Again, it doesn't matter what order I thread it through, but I'm just going to take it, the blue one's next to me, so I'm going to thread it through. The top bit's the same as what we did on the overlocker, so it clicks in. We can, right, there, that's it, so we can just see, that's it, the three top ones there, into the top, and then into the top, round the tension, then there's a little guide, just goes over the guide, then blue, 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 and then we've got the right hand guide just above the needle, and then I will take my next one and say I do like just threading the needles all together. So over the top, this one is the green, exactly the same into the top, first guide, second guide, round the tension, under the guide, give it a little pull.
Gary, do you need a coffee top up?
Actually some water would be great, yeah, thank you very much. And then green, so green guide, again follow it up, green guide, into the guide, into the middle guide, middle needle. Like so. With all of our overlockers and cover stitch machines, obviously they all come with the right tools, so they all come with screwdrivers, with tweezers, all got spare needles, accessories, so they all come complete that way. So that's then the second needle, and then the third. Again, this is the yellow one, over the top. So through the guide, click and click, around the tension, again pull over the guide, yellow guide, yellow guide. So left hand guide above left hand needle, just clicks in like so. So therefore that's the overlocker, or sorry, cover stitch threaded apart from the needles, and then I'll just go through front to back. And on there, number one. Something I will point out as well, with cover stitches and overlockers, when you put the needles in, you will notice the needles do not sit at the same height. That is a timing thing. So, because I've had it before where people, when they put new needles in, wonderful, thank you very much. When people put new needles in, they've actually not taken them all the way to the top. They've just tried to manually line them up together.
Oh no.
That is not the right way. Always with the needles, put them in as far as they will go, and it's always the flat side to the back as well. Right. So, but they are specifically designed where the needles are at different heights. So that's not a problem.
The thing is, if you don't know that, you can totally understand.
Oh, absolutely, because you naturally think it should be, they should sit level. Yeah, that is it. And then the reason they sit at different heights is because the timing of the looper. The way the looper will travel across the front of the needles, it picks it up in a different order. So yeah, so that is a specific on there. Because if you do obviously set them at the same height, you are then putting the timing out. And that's why it will never stitch, or it just break thread straight away.
Is this like the overlocker? Does this have Does this have all the tools in the lid bit?
No, I'm afraid this one doesn't. This comes just with the pouch of tools on here.
I look happy for a pouch or anything really.
Okay, so the first two needles instantly, and then the third needle, it's going to play up for me.
That's all right. I'm just going to see if we've got any little questions going on. There's quite a lot. Given your generosity towards your goddaughter, that we have got offers of adoption if you would like to adopt any of our viewers. They are feeling that they too could use an Uncle Garry.
Wonderful. Yeah, again, it's where I can't sort of say necessarily she got the sewing aspect from me, and I know it certainly wasn't from the parents either, but it's something she just naturally developed into. And then
if you're exposed to it, though.
Yeah. Well, to start off with, she wasn't really to start off with, but then it was one day I just took her into work, and it was just like a love for it. Yeah. And then since then, it's just absolutely so.
And I think sometimes these things it's right time, right place.
Yeah.
I remember thinking this, but I used to run. People laugh because I've done so many things in my life. I used to run an athlete management company, which was how I got into training in the first place. And on my books, I was Tom Daly's first ever agent.
Right.
But it was only because he lived in a town that had a 10-metre diving board. Yeah. That he discovered it. If he had lived geographically anywhere else,
and not had the opportunities for that,
never have realised what he could do. Because there were so few pools in the country.
And especially with equipped with that, absolutely
yes. So it's one of those things. Had your goddaughter never had the opportunity to be around this, and this is why the internet's so great, because you can choose it now. But you've got to know it's there to then know it's a thing that can be done.
And also then to try and experiment whether you do like it. And if you do like it, knowing that there's somewhere you can continue it as well. So no, very
because with
much.
the best will in the world, as a parent of children, they do have interests that can be fleeting.
Yes, yep.
So
well, as we know, as a sort of child growing up, I think it's great that they can try lots of different things because you don't know necessarily where your passion's going to lie. It's like growing up, I sort of dream my passion being sewing machines. Yeah. But obviously, as a younger, it's always cars, planes, trains, and automobiles, and all that sort of thing.
I mean, there's still a little car going on there, isn't
there?
Oh
well, yeah. But again, this is where I haven't got a modern car. I've got a classic car because it's something I can
feel, I can touch, I can feel and touch because it's the engineering side. I like you can get under the bonnet and do it. I haven't
And
got
actually understand, not plug it into a computer.
and the computer says no, you can't do this or whatever. That's exactly
Yeah.
it. And but again, that's sort of keeping that passion of mine on the engineering side. It goes over to most things that I have got as well because that's what I want.
Perfect.
So what we've
So how
done,
does this actually work?
right? So what I'm going to do is it's easy if I just get a piece of denim because it's nice and dark, and obviously the gold as yellow will show up lovely against this. So at the moment I've got it with 3 needles in here, so that will give me 3 rows of stitching on top and then a single row of stitching underneath. We have got a needle guide on the front of it. There is 3 little points telling me where the needle's growing up. With our machine we've got compensating feet on our hemmer, so with the cover stitch machine, then what it will do, because obviously most cover stitch you are doing it on a fold because of the hem. So naturally the foot is compensated, so when we're on different heights and different levels, obviously that's going to then move up and down, so it will feed it a lot straighter. And obviously one of the first things we've said when you first sat at the machine, why was it stitching off to the left or stitching off to the right? Because of the feed and the pressure system wasn't good enough to carry it straight. And again, this helps that as well, so it will pressurise the fabric exactly the same way. So what I'd always do, same as with generally any overlocker on that, if you're not sure, always get a scrap piece of fabric to start off with, and with a cover stitch machine as well, where you have got more loose threads on here, because what I'm not going to do on here like I did with the overlocker is I'm not going to trim them right down. So to start off with, I'm actually going to start with a overlocker. It will actually form its own stitch, so you don't actually need fabric there. As we know, with a sewing machine and with a cover stitch, you need fabric for it to form its own stitch on there. So that's why I do this that little bit different on there. And then what I can do, I've just started it off, so I've just sewn over a couple of times by hand, and then once I've done that, that's when I can now get my scissors and get rid of those tails on there, because otherwise you're just going to sew them in and it's obviously just going to pull the fabric back underneath again. So now I've done that, all I'm going to do, as you can hear, it's very smooth, it's very quiet, it just glides through. Now I run it off. There's different ways of finishing a cover stitch. I personally just run it off a little bit and I just then cut that tail on there, just so I've got all the stitches then still lined up. And then we can see on there. Oh.
Back to your machine.
Back to my machine.
There you go.
There you go. And that is then, as you say, that is now giving me the triple stitch on here. Underneath at the moment, as I say, the reason I'm going to show that because I've got it not in the tension pull properly. And this is great because, as you say, live, it's good that we make mistakes because it proves everybody makes mistakes. So I've noticed at the top to start off with, obviously the stitching is there. And then the main reason I know is because when I look underneath, as you can see, it is a complete mess on there.
Right,
and
so
the
when
reason
that
being
happens,
is because
why is
I've got
that?
no tension. So therefore, when I've threaded it, I have not pulled it into the tension properly. And again, it's something that we all can do. We can all miss the tensions out on there. And it's one of those there where...
You know when that happens on our sewing machines as well? And that's generally the same, isn't it? It's that we haven't got our thread through the tension plates.
That's it.
So what positions, when we have our normal sewing machines, what position should we have the needle and the foot when we thread?
So the presser foot should always be up when threading a machine. So with the machine, on sewing machines, they have what they tension release. So when you lift the presser foot up, there's a little bar that goes into the back of the tension, which then opens the discs up. So on there, obviously the disc up, so when you thread it, the thread naturally goes into the disc. If you haven't got the foot up, the discs are closed, so the thread sits on the outside. So
and
therefore,
that's when you get that.
That's when you get there. Exactly that.
Exactly that. So if you've done that, and that's why we always say start by re-threading your machine.
That's
if
it.
anything like that happens, re-thread the machine.
Re-thread the machine.
So you might do this and go, my machine doesn't work. No, it's just a tension situation.
That's right.
Re-thread it, get it through those plates.
And the last thing you should do is start playing and adjusting the tensions.
No,
because if it's not in the tension, doesn't matter how much you fiddle, it's never going to be there. So it is then just a matter of then I'm going to go through. I did notice it was a yellow one that I didn't actually have pulled into the tension properly.
They're all yellow.
So
sorry, the yellow dotted one. Yeah, sorry, not the yellow threaded one, the yellow dot colour. This is it. I.e., then in that case, the left-hand needle on
Do
there.
you have to thread these in a certain order?
No. Not at
okay,
all on
so
that.
not
So
like-
that's another thing with the cover stitch. It doesn't matter what order you thread it in. It will because it's only got the one looper.
Yeah.
On an overlock, it's very important because the loopers have to cross in the right way.
Yeah.
The only thing I do say is when you do thread the looper, you've got to make sure the needle thread is not wrapped around the looper.
Right.
So all I do is clear the threads to the back,
Right.
and then I can thread just the looper, absolutely no problems at all.
If
Yeah.
that hadn't have just gone wrong,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have learnt all of that.
No, and that's the great thing again. Why these live features on there saying, yeah, anybody can have queries, anybody
Yeah.
can have problems. The main thing to do, you don't panic,
No.
because 9 times out of 10 it's something so simple that it's not been done.
There is that theory that unless you make mistakes, you don't learn.
Oh,
What do you learn from success?
That's exactly it. So,
And it's actually very little.
but also, I should say, look at penicillin. Great things come out of mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes you say you learn things you wouldn't naturally learn.
I've learned so many techniques or tried so many different things when I've made mistakes. How's that looking?
And now you can see the difference between the stitching on here.
Well, it will be when I do
Yeah.
it. There you go.
On that, and if we then look at the back, oh, you can see now compared that way, as you can see, then compared to when the tensions was wrong, that bit there. So by pulling it into the tension,
You've got
sorted
that.
it out.
That's really
And that's it.
interesting.
So I haven't adjusted
It's
anything.
like
I haven't fiddled.
stitching post-mortem.
Yes, and this is why again we're having our helplines, having our FaceTime and things like that, where if it does that before you even start feeling a touch, if you're not sure, you pick up the phone, give us a ring, and
Yeah,
say we
it's
can
doing
just
this.
chat you through these little things as well.
And
yeah.
I will reiterate my story from earlier. When I first had my overlocker, I did have to ring you.
Yep.
And you taught me through it, and there was just something I couldn't, it just wasn't ready for me. And do you know what I'd done? I just hadn't flicked that. You know, you have to flick the switch up before you thread everything.
That's it.
And I'd just forgotten to do that one little step through everything. And because I thought I'd done it, and because I thought I knew how to do it, I had a complete block with it. So
Which say we all have. We can use
Yeah.
something so often, and then suddenly we go and do something, and it's then doesn't seem right.
now I know lots of you have got things that you have to do for lunchtime. So we are already at 12:30, Gary.
Right. Okay. So
If we have to pick one more machine out of everything that we have got, what are we going to pick?
right. So obviously the TL machines. Is the high-speed straight stitch industrial machine, 1,500 stitches a minute,
Yes.
absolutely solid.
Let me check our stock on that because I know these absolutely fly. Right, we stock the bobbins and everything for them. Do we have? We have got TL22s. We've got 2 of them, Gary. This is rare.
Has
This
the
is very
2020 still on there?
TL 2020.
So because we've got the two 200, yeah. So they've got 2 of the 200s,
Yeah.
and we've got one 2020.
Hang on, 2020.
Yep.
When did that come in? Did that come in today?
No, you've got that. Should hopefully have that on the list. It should. It's got in brackets silver. TL 2020 in brackets silver.
That might have sold
That's
last week.
yeah, because that is our limited edition one.
Now, if... Yeah, now I think that has... I'm just going to say, and let me just... No, that has sold.
Right, so
2020 is sold. That's already gone.
okie dokes. So I was
So we
surprised
have
'cause
got the
two,
220.
the two
The
200s,
200,
indeed,
yeah.
yeah.
Two 200s.
So I know it's a question that was put through earlier. Sorry, I forgot the lady's name who asked it, and it's about the accessories. What do they come with?
Oh, that's always a good question.
Yeah. So this is our 2200.
Now, you might not know this as the 200. You might have me know it as the TL.
It's the TL machine.
Or you might also have heard me refer to it as the Mini Beast.
Yes.
That is also. So this is a mini industrial.
No.
Is how it's listed.
So basically, the word mini they put on here because when they redeveloped this machine, I'm going to say, they redeveloped it for the quilting market.
Right.
So in the quilting market, we do 18-inch and 22-inch arm machines.
Right.
So that is the non-mini.
So that's
machine.
the mini part of it.
That's it. So we actually asked them to take the name off.
Right.
But
it's misleading.
It's very misleading because this is the actual only tabletop industrial. And I say that it's the portable where you can carry it around, put it on a table and use it.
Right.
This actual machine here, 8¼ inch arm, is exactly the same it is actually off our industrial production line. It's made in completely different factory to our domestic machines. And when you say it's like the old school, like Mum used to have the Singer, and you have to oil it all over the place, it lasted forever. This is that machine, basically.
Right.
You still have to oil it. It's got all the oil points on here still. And the reason for that is because it's all metal gearing on that. Obviously, domestic machines are trying to make, they've got stronger components in there, but they try and make them as easy as possible. So jam-proof, self-lubricating. So there's certain components in certain parts that they can do to make those features. This is 1,500 stitches a minute, so it's very fast, very powerful on there. And it's the same head as we would get in a table with either a 1/4 horsepower motor or an electronic motor. That's how strong the machine is on there.
Now, this has been out of the box. You've just seen you take off the silicone thing. So this has obviously not actually been used at any point.
No, again, it's a brand new machine.
And just because that has had the box seal broken, we have taken this is crazy, £250 off the price of this machine.
Yeah. So this one, again, it is a big favourite of people on there because, as we say, most of your sewing, like it can even be
a cult following, hasn't it?
It's real cult following. The other reason, this is the #1 machine in the UK and the US to go on a long arm quilting frame.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of people are trying to put their long arm domestic machines on a quilting frame. The problem is the platform's over. They start bouncing around, which a lot of them do, and you end up getting movement here. That is really not doing your multi-thousand-pound machine any good whatsoever. Also, with those, they've got the plastic components, the bobbin cases, which can bounce and move around. This has got what they call, it's a rotary industrial hook system. So we have a little look in there. As you can see, it's all sparkly metal. Everything's shiny and metal inside there.
Mine's slightly fluffier, but yes.
So yes, indeed, over there. So again, the speed, obviously being 1,500, but also again, no vibration, no rattling, no bobbin cases moving, which can jump around as well. So it is that ideal tool, certainly to go onto a long arm frame, without a doubt. But as a high performance sewing machine, straight stitch only, but as we know, it will go through absolutely everything. Whether you're doing lightweight work, heavyweight work, the performance level is absolutely tops on there. So let's just get it plugged in. There.
And also, can we just have a little look at the threading? Now, guys, I've got 2 of these. They rarely come up. If you've been thinking about one of these, not only do I have 2 in stock, but they do have £250 off, which is just incredible. Can't say fairer than that, can we?
No, that's
And they're ready to be dispatched now.
We have them all ready to go.
We do have was it a UX that we had? No, an NX.
A UX8.
A UX.
Yeah.
We've sold one of them.
That sold pre-show.
Yeah.
We didn't think we was going to get another one.
We have one more of those.
And that will be, it's ready to obviously pre-order, and that will be ready to actually go, because obviously with all of our machines like that, it has been out with us, so that's been out around. It has been used a couple of times, but obviously at that price, that's £700 off that one.
It is,
on there, so that is an extremely good saving. Still comes with a brand new warranty, still obviously boxed with everything that way as well. But obviously we like to put all of our machines, anything that's been used even once, it goes back into the workshop, it's then basically take back up as a new machine. So but obviously with that discount on there.
So we've got one of those. So if you want the UX, which is the one Jane uses day in, day out, it is the elite machine, and it's just the machine you will never outgrow. I think that's the big takeaway for me. You're never going to outgrow it at all. Jane uses ours day in, day out. Like I say, she does at least a quilt a week on ours.
So built-in walking foot dual feed system built into the UX8. You can actually convert it into a high-speed straight stitch machine. So not just by changing the plate. It's the only domestic machine out there where you can actually set it up with a new feed as well. It's not complicated. It clicks on, clips off. No screwdrivers, no plug in, no plug out. It's very, very simple that way.
So we only knew that we had stock of that this morning. So if you are after a UX, please do look at the website for that. Like I said, there's a £700 saving on that. On these industrial, I'm going to stop calling it a mini industrial now. I'm going to call it tabletop.
The tabletop industrial.
Tabletop industrial. £250 off both of these machines. You just watched Garry take it out of the box and take all of.
Literally, the gel packs and everything off of it, the silicone packs.
This is a brand new machine with £250 saving because it's been put out.
It's been out on display. This one, on there again. Say this TV program, it's good timing because we sent a lot of machines to the TV program. Obviously, they used an amount of them. Some of them they had out on display. Some of them then just didn't even get used. But obviously, because they've been out on display, boxed up, they're not sold as new machines. We won't sell them as new machines.
No, it's not fair.
But they're sold as new. Sort of thing, on there,
not new, but as new.
As new,
with the same warranty, and that's a really important thing. That's the important thing for you to know. Same warranty going on there. Right, let's have a little look at this one then.
So with this one, again, it's got the capabilities of the knee lifter. So let's sit it into a angle to dangle where we can go.
Do you want me to come and move some of those machines?
No, I've just trapped myself. I trapped my lead in there. So
we have kidnapped Garry.
Indeed. I'm not going anywhere. As long as you chuck me some food occasionally, it's all right. So I know it's the sort of the best because it's quite a big machine, isn't it? On that one. So first of all, foot control, variable speed foot control at the front, and what we call heel back. So you put your heel back, and there's your underbed trimmer. So again, it can cut the threads, again, that industrial setup that we're used to. Capabilities, it's got the knee lifter, which all comes with it as well. So again, gives you that extra high clearance on the foot. This does come with a really large extension table as well, which I've got in the box, which we can get out in a minute, but you've seen that size of it as well. So on there, and it does come with a large amount of accessories, which I'll go through in a minute. So just plug that in. So on the machine itself, we go through the threading. Is it going to be easier? Can we get a slightly wider view on that, or?
I am going to have to go and stand on a box and play with that. Bear with. We can do this if I can remember how.
Yeah, so with the TL, it's a straight stitch only, but you have still get the drop feed function on here. So obviously for all your free motion, again for your quilting frames, etc. that way. So it's not a feed plate cover or anything like that. It is a proper drop feed. You've got your full reverse lever on here. You've got your independent thread trimmer on the front of the machine as well as on the foot control. You've got needle up, needle down button. And also you will see the stitch length goes up to number 6. So you've got extra travel on your feed, extra long stitch, so absolutely fantastic again for those real heavy upholstery fabrics and things like that. So very, very simple. It's 1500 stitches a minute, but you still get a speed restrictor on the machine as well. So you've got your hair and your tortoise on there. So again, it's very, very controllable. DC powered motor, and with the electronic foot control, even on full speed, you can still stitch literally 50 stitches a minute if you wanted to. So the control is fantastic on there. So setting and threading the machine up, what you also then notice, that's it. You've got external there as well.
There you go.
That's it. That's brilliant.
Yay!
Thank you. That's on there. So we've got the yarn stand or the thread stand at the back. So that's telescopic, which goes up. Again, we can use the large combs, the industrial combs on here, which is also then great for things like your metallic threads and invisible threads. So if we look at the front of the machine, obviously we've got our external tension system. Going right back to the first machine that we showed, the 654, being that sort of semi-industrial setup, this is why it's external. So again, it's that easy maintenance, looking after, nothing's going to get caught inside. So for that high performance level of machine, having that system again is the better system on there. Threading the machine, very, very simple. So got the guide just at the back, and the thread just goes through the first hole, and then same as what we did before, it has got the double threading on the top, so into the top for the first one, into the top for the second one. So again, that is the anti-twist, again because of the speed of the machine and the way it comes off. We don't want any twist or knots going through. Actually, let's just thread over the top of the yarn mask as well. So then from there, it goes round the pre-tensioner. So again, pre-tensioners you don't get on domestic machines. It's on the industrial machines to control the thread a lot better because again the speed of the machine, but also having the extra flexibility being all external where you can then use a bigger variety of threads easier on this type of machine than you can do on a domestic machine with all built-in tension systems. So it goes round, over the check spring, literally underneath the guide, through the guide, over the top take-up lever, back through the guide, through the guide. There's a little hook guide above the needle, which most machines have there, just to keep the thread near the needle, stop it from flapping around. And then it's actually got built-in needle threader. So this is the only one of our machines which actually then has left to right threading. The flat side of the
needles. Spin that around a
needles
little bit so we can just see that a little bit better.
Into there.
There we go.
So then the flat side then goes inside the machine. It's just the nature because of where the bobbin system is on here. So needle threader comes down, twists in, we grab the thread through, there we go, as simple as that, and just pulls the loop through. So again, nice and easy that way. So bobbin case underneath, say it's the full metal rotary hook system in there. Again, very fast, very smooth. This one, you do get then the separate bobbin case on this one, and they are industrial metal rotary bobbins.
We stock those here because I get through so many of them. So it was again a purely selfish act.
Yeah, no, that's great.
But that's fine.
But that's what you need. Never have too many bobbins. Absolutely not. So with domestic machines and drop-in bobbin systems, again, it's those questions I get asked a lot. Can I use metal bobbins? No. Don't put metal bobbins in top-loading machines. Again, the top-loading machines are nylon plastic interior. Metal bobbins will wear. Also, it's the weight of it as well. It will cause drag on the thread. Don't upset the tensions that way. And also, what I will say, there's no such thing as universal bobbins. I know I'm probably going to repeat myself, but it's worth repeating on that. Each machine manufacturer produces its own bobbin. It's not just the size, it's the quality of it as well. Obviously, different gauges of plastic. Obviously, there's some cheaper ones out there which are more slightly rough, which are going to upset the threads on there. But also, you don't want them moving or bouncing around in your bobbin case because, again, that can cause issues that way. So because of the speed and everything else of this one...
I'm going to say that I think now our viewers are very well trained in that because we stock by the 100 your bobbins, Juki bobbins, both the plastic and the metal, and they fly out. So I know that our viewers are very well behaved.
Brilliant. And
in
that's
terms
it.
of that. You have taught them well. But it was something that I didn't know because I believed universal.
Yeah. And so many people do. It's within exhibitions or it's more we're in the shops where I'm there because we're multi-branded, where people come in, I need a bobbin for X machine. I think, well, I'm not sure what that machine is, and so I know most machines out there, but obviously there's some manufacturers which are not manufacturers, and they can, I want a universal. And then when I say, sorry, I'm not selling you a bobbin, they get upset with me because then they think I'm trying to be funny. but I'm not going to sell somebody something which I don't know is right.
Yeah,
'Cause it ends up damaging your machine. Again, that problem can come back on me.
to you.
So I prefer not to sell
Called
something.
integrity, Gary.
That's it. And yes, I've had customers really upset with me and
Yeah.
argue with me,
Yeah.
but I still won't change my opinion.
No, that's fair enough.
On there. So yeah, definitely having the right bobbins is very, very important. And obviously over these years, I have seen the problems wrong bobbins have caused on there. So,
Yeah.
so on this one, so a lot of people call this old-fashioned when I hold the bobbin case, because a lot of people remember it from maybe one of the first machines they've used. Certainly if you've used school machines, a lot of the old machines they used to use were all bobbin case. This is not old-fashioned, this is just a different type of bobbin system. And virtually all industrials will have a similar system to this, but it will be a separate bobbin case.
Okay.
So nice and easy. You've got the little lever.
Hang on. I was just looking at
Oh.
comments just to see if everybody was okay. And
Yeah.
we'll come back to those in a second. But yes, there we
So if we just tip that, we can then see on there, as you can see in the open spool, there is a finger in the middle just for the location, and that just locates and literally just slides in like so. Nice and easy, like that. And then with this one, I know it seems a bit old-fashioned now compared to some of the modern machines, you do pick the underneath bobbin thread up. And again, with this one on the front of the machine, so we've got a needle up, needle down button, press it once, half stitch, give it a wiggle, pull the loop through, there we go, ready to go. On the side of the machine, you have got a thread trimmer. As I've also said, obviously you've got the built-in thread trimmer as well.
Someone has just asked if you could just show us how to thread that, just the last
Absolutely.
needle threader again on
It-
this, because
The
it is
needle
it is
threader or the
different.
bobbin
Yeah,
case.
the needle threader.
Needle threader. Well, it's one of those things where I've got to say, the biggest question I get on this machine at any show when they
how
come
to
and see me is,
thread it.
please show me how the needle threader works again.
Yeah.
And again, it's not, because it is that little bit different, it's just getting used to it. So again, people who have got the TLs already, just in a slightly more slow motion on here. So as we come down, it will get to a point and it will stick. But it's not really sticky, it's just
Yeah.
that you're not pushing it far enough. And when it's a new machine, people are always a little bit fragile. This is all metal. It's not a plasticky, wavy bit at all on there. So when it comes down to that point, make sure you twist it in properly. And then what it will do is it will engulf the needle. And then, where's my tweezers? That's the easiest way there. So here, we've got a little guide that it hooks underneath. And then here is another little, this is actually a plastic guide because it only holds the thread. It's not
Yeah.
actually a moving part at all. So the key thing is it must go under the first guide, but that thread will also then sit in this little plastic guide here, because what it will do is it will keep it parallel to the needle hole, so when it pulls it through, it's not pulling it at an angle which can then slip off, it's pulling it straight. And that's the bit what most people will miss.
Yeah.
And that's the bit when I show people, that's I will emphasise that little step is where it needs to sit on there. So the thread comes down underneath the guide and then slides across, they onto that step, let go, and there's your loop. And then
Perfect.
just pull that through.
Another question, as you are the fount of all knowledge, Sue has just bought some Mariflex stretch
Oh,
thread.
lovely, yeah.
Do you have any tips for using it?
So was normal.
Really?
Yeah, probably, maybe the only tip I would give, because naturally the stitch you're using is usually, if you want to stretch fabric, because that's why you would use the Mariflex on there, it's going to be softer, make your stitch longer.
Okay.
Yeah, apart from that, new needle, because again, the type of fabric you're using on there, yeah, maybe where I would just say always use a size 80, I would probably then maybe go to a 90 on
Right.
that to allow that movement of thread on that. But apart from that, no, it's a beautiful thread. Yeah,
Lovely.
we saw a lot with that.
There you go.
About time to say a company come up with a good stretch thread, because
And
beforehand.
that's what that is.
and
It's
that
a
is
stretch thread.
absolutely, yeah, it's specifically for that stretch fabric.
And is
yeah.
that just for sewing with stretch fabric, for dressmaking? When else would you use it?
Basically, you wouldn't. No,
You wouldn't,
it
just
is more
for-
expensive. So if you used it for everyday sewing, you're just basically wasting money on that. Really, it won't change the sewing, because obviously your normal fabric doesn't stretch. But obviously, using it on your stretch fabric, it gives you that little bit of give. It really is nice. So,
Nice.
Yeah,
A little bit
definitely.
of forgiveness with your thread is always a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything like that, again, performance level, where if you're not sure as well, and certainly things like metallic threads, invisible threads, anything you're not sure on, sew a little bit slower as
Okay.
well. especially, say Mariflex, not so much on it, but if you're using things like the metallic threads, obviously metal, and using nylon threads, the invisible threads, all you need is a little bit of heat, and that's why most of the time they break. It's to do with friction. So it's not because necessarily the machine's not necessarily liking it as much. It's because obviously you're running nylon or the metallics against your needle. The faster you run it, the more friction it's going to cause, and you only have to generate a little bit of heat, and it will just snap them.
Yeah.
So I will always say, nylon threads, metallic threads especially, so slower, and even 50% slower on some of them, depending on the quality of the thread. Yeah. So definitely on that. But again, with all the machines, absolutely no problems. They will take it. You just might need to adjust your sewing slightly.
Saucer says, himself, so husband, has just inquired why I listened so intently to a sewing engineer, but I glaze over when he explains how ailerons work. I don't know, I said that right, because I don't know what they are.
What is that?
But yeah, and Julie answers, all you need to know is that they're working.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
That's it.
You say what did you say? The husband work aerons. Aerons. So the only thing I can think of is presuming the things on the wing of a plane. I want them to know they're working properly.
Yeah, because you know it's quite important.
It's quite important they're working properly,
yeah.
but I'm hoping the engineer looking after them make sure that happens.
Nikki would like to know with this machine what additional feet you can buy.
Yeah, that's excellent because we've got a good amount of feet that come with it, and loads of extras as well.
Because I have a feeling that Nikki, we've sold you one of these, I think. Which is great because it means that you're using it and you want to use it more.
And that's exactly it. So what I'm going to do is this is another feature. I will just point out why I'm doing that. So the drop feed is this lever here, and say if I listen to this, clonk.
Yeah, it's a good sound.
It is a full mechanical feed system.
There's no, I accidentally did that.
No,
didn't realise.
You know that's happening on that. But it's one of those questions I get asked a lot as well. Is that emergency phone call I get? My feed system's not come up. It's not working. Well, have you tried sewing? Oh no, I haven't. When I click this back across again, because it's a cam, it's on a metal cam. It drops the cam out, but it won't re-engage the cam until you start sewing. So even though I put the feed lever across to come back up, the feed stays down. So visually, when you look at it, you think, oh, it's not going to work. But as soon as I start sewing, you will hear that little click again. That's it re-engaging itself. 1,500 stitches a minute, high-speed straight stitch, no movement of needle at all. And again, I will say any machine with a zigzag and obviously if it hits a hard bits of fabric of that, it's going to move the needle bar. There's nowhere for the needle bar. It's going to be a perfect straight stitch because that is all it can do on there.
And that's the only way that you can get close to that on a domestic is things like your UX where you change the plate out.
Where you are then changing the plate and the feed system as well on there. So obviously, but that
is also double the price.
It's it's a lot of difference in machine on that one and that, but also domestically, you have. I'm going to still say it because it has on the UX8. It's still got a swing needle.
Yeah.
So obviously that needle bar can still have slight movement, even though obviously with the needle plate and the feed will keep it as best as it can. Obviously that needle bar still has the option to be a swing needle. So yeah.
Gary, the engineer in you is strong. So he says yes. Ailerons are flight controls on the wings of a plane. Right. I believe it adds lift and air brakes. Again, so you clearly listened to him. He designs aircraft flight controls.
Wonderful. Yeah, so
which we're all very grateful.
Which we're very grateful
for. And Nikki says,
yes,
she does have one of these, and she loves it.
Excellent. Well done, Nikki.
Everybody loves these machines. If you've got one, you love it. Yeah. And that's the only question is, do you have it? In that case, I know you love it. Yeah,
that is the thing. Is say with a machine like this, it seems extravagant as a tool to do that one job, but when it does it perfectly, because the TL has been out, the first reincarnation was the TL98 Perfection.
Right.
Because it was the very, very first of its kind on there. And that was 25 years ago. And all we've changed on this one now is because for quilters and say the quilt frame, they've just sort of made it a little bit more prettier as such to say, a little design on. And they called it the Mini on there. They've added a pre-tensioner to it as well. But mechanically, again, the machine is 100% the same. They've
Yeah.
not changed anything on there at all on that.
I'm going to say again, I love mine. I absolutely love mine. The only time that I don't sew with it is if I've got to do a zigzag or something. Like I was doing some cheat English paper piecing the other day, which is why I swapped it out. And I've just been lazy. I haven't swapped my back in. But looking at this, yeah, it's going straight back in because I love it.
Well, as you say, with most of the time now, especially if you've got an overlocker, and if you say with cover stitch as well, it's having those single tools to do the job.
Yeah.
And it's then having 90% of your sewing probably straight stitch.
Yeah.
You've got a large amount of it obviously for finishing, which your overlocker will do.
I don't have time to faff about.
No.
I've got to get my I've got to get my samples done, made, and out the door. It's as simple as that. Jane was laughing at me this morning. She was like, "Oh, just the 4 bags and a hat yesterday, then was it, Natasha?" yeah, it was. Actually, and a show, and and various fabric cutting. I started at 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't finish until 8 o'clock at night. That was my day, and I need a machine that is going to support that level of work that I do here.
Well, you should say with what obviously using it semi-commercially, that professional finish on there. It's very important to you, not only one, obviously, that you're stitching, you're finishing, that you're showing your customers the quality is there. Second, obviously, the speed and time. We all want more time, as I said before. And obviously, within business, time is money. So you want that reliability there. You don't want to be damaging fabrics, wasting threads or things like that. So certainly as a commercial, semi-commercial user, that is so important. But for home use, why not have something that just works? Why put up with that will do?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to put up with that to do. And I know we sort of go back, and obviously that engineering, as I said, about buying different tools, where I bought a very famous drill set from one of the biggest names out there, and it did a job on there, and then but it just wasn't right. And it's not. I don't use the new ones I've got any more than what I use, but I upgraded it to the name you see on sort of commercial stuff. So, but still for domestic home, and it just does the job so much easier, so better.
Can I be really honest?
Yeah.
I had 2 of these.
Yes.
And I sold one, and I really regret
yes,
selling
you said. I know you said you did.
I really regret selling the second one because I thought it's extravagant. I don't need it. And now that we've got a Great Dane, I don't have space to take this down to Cornwall.
Yeah,
with me, so I have to work. And it's not that I don't love my other machine, I do, but I love this one more.
And it just because it just feels different, and it's a different tool for the job as such. I say,
there you go. But and again, everyone's preferences are
different on that. But as you say, going back to everybody who's got one absolutely loves it, and you say this is such a rarity that you just don't see them second hand, or they come up on the market that way. They are just a wanted and kept machine. But on the other side of that, obviously other companies out there are starting to be, or they have done there over the time, and I just reconfirm that this is the only tabletop industrial. Other machines they're calling heavy duty have still got, they are stretched domestic machines. So they've still got the nylon plastic gears interior. This is the only true full metal geared industrial tabletop machine.
So don't be fooled by heavy duty.
Don't be fooled by, certainly there's some out there with heavy duty on. I know this
written on it, I've seen them.
And I know this certain company who's one of the biggest names out there, they're being sued quite heavily through the American market, because that's what the Americans do, for false advertising, because they're calling it heavy duty and it's a plastic machine inside. It's nothing better than their machine half that price, but they haven't painted it grey and put heavy duty on it. So and that's why I do sort of say it's not just the outside of the machine. It may be metal on the outside, which this obviously is, and some other machines are. It's what's running the machine on the inside. That
needs to be the heavy duty.
That's the bit what works. Plastic on the outside actually doesn't bother me, because it's only a platform.
Yeah.
It's what's on the inside. That's the key thing on there. Yeah. So No. But anyway, get back to some exciting stuff. What does the machine come with? Right. No. So first of all, an industrial machine, high speed, high power, very strong, needs to have industrial fittings.
Yeah,
not plastic fittings. No. These are high shank, not a low shank, but because that's what industrials take, and they are all screw on, not clip on, so they're all one piece feet.
Gary, that first foot that you brought out with the edge on it,
the compensating foot.
Is there another one that's got I can't see from it because my eyes are dreadful. Is there another one with a guide on the side?
There is not what comes with it.
Yeah.
No. Unless you're talking about the walking foot guide.
No.
That's a little bit different, that one. And there's the 1/4-inch guide one.
Yes.
There you go. Sorry, I'm thinking patchwork. I'm thinking utility.
No.
Because that is then your compensating foot, which adjusts then again
Yes.
for the different thicknesses.
Yes.
That is then my 1/4-inch guide, which is then for my patchwork.
Right.
Which will then give me.
Can I tighten that up or buy a second one? So where I've used that so often,
Yeah.
I've pushed that blade out a little bit.
Okay, there is.
So it's not a true 1/4 inch anymore.
There is a little screw on there.
So I can tighten it.
So yeah, but I say with what we say on there, because it is designed more for that patchwork, so the lighter weight fabrics.
Yeah, no, I used it for bag making.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the issue. So what we would recommend then for that is we now going to the question earlier about what other feet can we get.
Yeah.
That we actually do. I think it's now 6 different size compensating feet.
Okay, right.
So
I need to get
so
on board
for
with
your
that.
top of your bags and things like that, this is absolutely ideal.
So I tell you what it is. When I bag make, I will use Styleville Fix
Yeah.
for the interfacing, but I won't include the seam allowance in because it makes the seam really bulky.
Yes, right.
So I will cut it 1/4 inch short.
And then sort of get around it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But would I use that compensating foot there?
Yeah. And then it's designed then to take that
To
bulk.
take that.
That's
Perfect.
exactly what it's. That's
Okay.
exactly what it's for on there.
So
So what I'm
what I
going to
might do then as well then is get a second 1/4 inch foot and have one for doesn't quite matter and one for patchwork.
and that's it. And then sort of.
It's like having your scissors for paper and scissors for fabric, isn't it? It's
that's
like
it.
when you need
Yeah.
that accuracy, use this one, and the one you've slightly bent because you used it in the wrong way.
Yeah. So just while we're on the conversation, because I'll just run this through. Actually, I'm not going to do it on denim because I've got blue thread on there. I'll just show you.
But I have to say that
Again, the vinyl, because we'd like to do around the top of a bag or something like that, so we've made a bag on there. So, I'm just going to do a triple fold. I know this is not normally how you would run around the top, but it gives you that actual fold. So I'm doing just a double fold, so it gives me that step inside there. So I've got then 3 layers and then 1 layer. So the idea then the compensating foot. So the idea of having different size compensating feet is then different seam allowances. We've got everything from
spin that round towards you.
on there.
There you go.
So we've got different size compensating feet for different seam allowances. And that's why, to give you those different edge finishes on there, because we do it from literally 1.5 mil up now to, I think it's 5 mil, we are up to 6 mil even, I think. So,
Well, that's fabulous.
and then what we do is we just sew straight down there.
I even love
Slightly
the
longer
sound of
stitch
it.
length.
Just love the sound of it.
Well, when anybody listens to it for the first time, they just can't believe a machine this big, this bulky is that smooth. It's because, again, it's engineered.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds daft saying it's engineered, because most things are, but it's how it's engineered, which is then obviously the different point on there. So you can see it actually took that through without me hardly touching it, because the compensating keeps it on that straight line, not trying to push it off left or right.
Do you know what? It's just that I haven't used compensating feet, and that's why I don't think to go to them because I haven't used them. But now you're going to show us something fabulous, aren't you? And I'm going to go, why
look at
didn't
that.
I do that? Ah,
Absolutely perfect. And now what I am going to say on that, obviously that's our industrial attachment on there, and that's obviously where they originated from. But people who know us now, and I showed them last time, we've got our professional feet for our DX range, for the G series, for our domestic range. Exactly, and I know we did run through them last time, and they are available. So, and they are made exactly the same as that. They're not plastic feet for the domestic market. They are industrial feet we've had adapted for the domestic market. So for your DX series, your G series, your UX, your NX, you can now get the professional feet selection, which will do exactly that. So
Nice.
yeah, absolutely no problem. But the compensating feet, you say, around the top of bags, side of jeans, seams, anything
very
like
brilliant.
it's perfect, absolutely brilliant. So
Well done, Gary.
right, so that's the compensating foot, we say, which naturally comes with it. You also then get your roll hem foot.
Nice.
So again, just for your finer fabrics, which
Should
is
we
nice.
actually, let's pop that on a little close up so we can see these up close.
There we go. Right, that's it. We'll put that further. So again, high shank. Then obviously got your sort of roll hem. This is a 3mm roll hem. So on there, other side is available. So again, those industrial attachments on there. There's you get your shell hem attachments in different sizes. You get your roll hem attachments in different sizes as well. So that's not a problem. So with it, we've put the adjustable zip foot. So again, at the back, we've got the screw. So we can then move that left or right, depending on what size of zip we're doing. Obviously, the other nice thing about this, you can use it for piping. Because it's a half foot, you can butt it right up against the piping.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you look at your domestic zip feet, where they've got the block at the back, it makes it a bit more tricky. But
Can
also,
I be really honest?
yeah,
I very rarely use my zip foot unless I'm piping or using flange or something like that. Because I use the narrow.
and that's the thing, because you've got the narrow foot on the machine,
Yeah,
it gets it
I
so
very,
close
I
anyway.
very rarely, which again, if I am bag making or if I'm sample making, the fact that I don't have to stop and keep switching feet out.
Yeah.
I know it's only a moment, but all those minutes add up.
Yeah, but this is it. When you're constantly swapping from one to the other, then it all adds up that way.
But
And then
when I need that really close finish,
Yeah.
this is
if you want it
fabulous.
absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
But then, and that's the thing is, like, again, going back to, yes, this comes with the machine, but industrially, which will fit this machine, we make all the different size piping feet. And you can get left and right hand fitting piping feet. So that's there. And again, for domestic users, DX, G Series, NX, UX, that's part of our professional range. We've now developed different size piping feet for our domestic range.
Yeah,
So that's
there
all
was a need.
available as
There you
well.
go.
So on there. So that's obviously the normal straight stitch foot that comes with it. So all of our feet are sprung loaded as well. Obviously for going over seams, it undulates a lot easier and keeps full pressure.
Brilliant.
So they're on there. So you also, as we mentioned, the 1/4 inch foot. So it's got the fixed guide on there as well. So obviously for a constant seam allowance.
If I am quilting, doing anything, especially if I do, so something like the quilt behind you, which is actually Jane's, but I did a picnic blanket the other day, which was sashed.
Yeah.
Sashing, it just has to be accurate.
Yes,
There's no
it
two ways
does,
about
yeah.
it. You've just, you want it even, you want it the same. And so yeah, for me, absolutely perfect. I'm going to whip out that 1/4 inch guided foot every single time, and then I don't even have to think about it. It's done. Or if I'm sewing 2.5 inch strips together, anything like that.
Well, it's just anything which you need a constant.
Yeah.
If you've got that guide there, it just
Yeah.
makes life so much easier
Yeah,
on there.
yeah, yeah.
Again, this is where if you look at factory set machines, and we get sort of a lot of the team, well, my machine's not quite doing this, my machine's not quite doing that. Unless you reset your machine specifically to do that job, then yes, there could always be a little bit of tolerance there. And that's if you go to a factory and you see how it's made, they will have one machine set up just to do that job. Then they pass it to the next machine just to do that job. And then they pass it on. So they specifically have those tools, again, for time, for accuracy, performance, that way. So for home, you can get it, but just if you want it that precise, spend a little bit of time just setting your machine, moving the needle position, 0.2 of a millimetre even, will give you that position on there. And the great thing about domestic machines, it's got the flexibility to do that.
Right, yeah.
But you just need a little bit of confidence, say, playing and doing it. And certainly with our machines as well, it doesn't matter how much you play with it, as soon as you come out of that setting, it just resets itself.
Yeah.
So play, have some fun with it, enjoy it, knowing you're not going to upset it at all.
Perfect.
So
What else we got?
these are free motion feet on here. So as we can see, they are very solid pieces of kit, which they should be when your machine's moving around the 1,500 stitches a minute. And obviously you're trying to do free motion. The last thing you want is your foot wobbling off or causing a problem or smashing a needle.
It's
So
not a good look, yeah.
very, very solid. These alone, because we have people come up with other manufacturers who put plastic feet on their machine, wanting to buy these feet. These feet are actually £50 a pop to buy separately.
I can imagine.
And it comes with your open toe, it comes with your 1/8, and it comes with your 1/5. So for your echo stitching and things like that as well.
Oh,
But also
nice.
some people prefer open toe, some prefer complete round disc. That's obviously down to the individual, but it does come with all 3 of those feet as standard. Walking foot, again, it's all metal fixings on here as well. It's not just a plastic screw on foot. It's got long feed travel as well, because obviously 6mm, it needs that long feed travel. So, and it is designed for the speed of the machine. So absolutely brilliant that way. And then we've taken it one step further with the machine. You also then get your fabric guide. So, and then with that, so that's half of the fabric guide. So that actually then sits on the back of the machine. Obviously this would normally be attached to the machine, so it actually holds it then into place, but I'm just going to hold it with my finger at the moment. So that's how it will sit on the machine with the bar, and then this is then your guide. So you can then, as we fit it onto the machine, we have got that, which then obviously that will then adjust left and right. So for our parallel adjustments on there, and then the front guide, we've got a forward and back movement as well, so we can line it up with our needle or with our turns. So yeah, so obviously the walking foot, you can use it with or without the guide, but it all comes as a complete kit in there as well. Your knee lifter, your extension table, obviously foot control with underbed trimmer, normal spare bobbins, needles. It does come with a little oil thing, as I say, the machine does need a drop of oil every now and then. So everybody asks, oh, how much oil, when do I need to oil it? It's one of those things I say is how long is a piece of string. It's the more you use it, give it a drop of oil. Yeah. But also, I also say, if you've had it sat in a cupboard for a long time and not used it, when you get it out, give it a drop of oil. But the main thing, you train your ears. You will hear the sound change. You'll hear, it sounds a bit dry. I think we all do it. We all know it with our car and things like that. If it's not sounding right, again, we should do it with our sewing machines as well.
And trust yourself.
But also, you can't over oil it. Well, you can. Okay. You can over oil it. Sorry, I'll take that back, because when you oil it, you should only literally drop, 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 drop.
Where are we dropping?
So on top of the machine, and we go back to what we said before about the old-fashioned machines where you've got to oil them and there's holes on the machine everywhere. It's exactly the same. You've got your drive holes on the top, and you've got your take-up hole, and then you've got your shaft gearing and your hook gear holes as well. So obviously these are all your main moving parts inside where you've got...
Hang on. No, you're teaching me about this. What, so you just whack that bottle in the holes?
Literally.
And just give it a...
Drop, 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 drop. And every now and then on the hook system underneath where the fluff builds up, when you clean the fluff out, give it a drop of oil on there as well.
I'm going to be really honest. I don't think I ever even gave a moment's thought as to what those holes were. Right.
So
I have no idea. Can you spot the person that didn't ever read their instructions? You just went, right, go, show me how to thread it, let's go!
What I do say to people as well, just as sort of more of a visual thing, get a red Sharpie, or a Sharpie, doesn't have to be red, and literally draw, just circle, because they've got little sort of cups on there, and inside just a little bit of red Sharpie, because then you sit red, and it will then, oh yeah, that's an oil hole. On that, it's just a quick visual thing, because at the moment it's all nice white and pretty, so it sort of virtually blends in. And
it's your machine; you can do what you want.
Exactly it. When you get it there, so little red Sharpie, just dot 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 dot. So when you look at it, it just jumps out. Oh, give it a drop of oil. And then going back to other questions about other accessories again, you've got 2 holes here as well, which are screw holes. And those are, I can buy folders, I can get different size bias binders, I can get fabric guides, everything to screw into here, all from the industrial manufacturing. So, and they all directly screw into the machine. So that's what those 2 holes are for there, which you've got on your machine as well, which I can tell you're not sure on that one. So we've got a lot more playing to do.
We have, and it's gone 1 o'clock, Gary. Where did that time go? I need to give you sustenance and stuff like that. My gosh, Gary, thank you so much.
Absolutely, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for all the questions. I love them, absolutely. And you say anything else as well, don't hesitate. Even if you drop Natasha a line, any questions, it comes through to me. I'm always there. So.
We do have a question. Is that the same on the DX, the oiling spots, says Claire E?
No oiling on the DX at all. So with our domestic machines, DX, G Series, UX, NX, they don't actually need oiling. But what I do as a personal thing, when we take the needle plate off, when we give it a good clean out, obviously it is all metal inside there, so I do like just to keep the metal a little bit sort of fresh. So
Do you put it on a little bit of toilet paper and
Exact-
just a little bit of oil on there and
exactly
just wipe it around?
wipe it around, and what you also find, if you just brush your machine out and you think, oh, that looks lovely and shiny, that's clean, get a bit of kitchen roll, put some oil in and wipe it around again, it's a magnet. And you look at that and I can guarantee that will have fluff that you haven't even seen on there. And it gives you that nice coating actually on the metal, which can help obviously just prolong it, especially if it's stored for a while as well.
We have regularly have people that have self-shamed on our Facebook feed after you've been in for a show, because you've shown us in the past how to take care of our machines, how to do a little
Just maintenance.
just
basic
that maintenance, just so that we can elongate the time between services, and they've kind of come on and they've put a photo on our Facebook feed and gone, oh, I can't believe how filthy my machine was. Yeah. And welcome to the world of
Yeah. But I say, there's a lot of people out there who do the same thing as well, and this is why the more I can come across and save you money, really.
And it's
that's what
lovely because
doing.
we don't. I mean, yes, we do have a time control, but it's not like when we're together on any kind of shopping channel or anything like that, where you have to finish because you have to finish at that time.
Well, and also everything's got to be plugged as well, as such to say. There is always in the middle of flow into something. I said, right, just need to. Oh, by the way, we've got this available. We've got
and
that
that's
available.
the nature of the beast, and that's how they run and they work. But here, it's lovely to be able to have that time. This is more like a documentary.
But it never feels like an hour here.
Or 3.
Oh, well, that's right. Yeah, that's and that's the great fun about it. And sometimes I'm not going to apologise for talking too much, because obviously, hopefully, the information is right on that, and I do love it.
When you get messages saying that I'm in total awe of Garry's knowledge, thank you. We know that you've done a good job.
And thank you very much. I do like to, after all these years, to still hear that. I do really like to. I really appreciate that as well. So thank you.
But it's to find people that actually know. And I know that you're not someone that would ever shout about your knowledge. I'll do that quite happily for you. But to find someone who genuinely knows and doesn't think they know, but they actually know,
and also
is gold.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's a case of, say, well, you're sort of from the beginning, 16 years old. Well, sort of background. My brother works for Juki UK. No, my brother works for Juki USA. I work for Juki UK. He works for Juki USA. And then,
hang on, no, just Juki USA. Where does he live, Garry?
Miami.
Come on, we'll have a conversation about life choices later.
Where is Juki USA is based in Miami. It's like, no. But I love Colchester. Colchester, I'm born and bred Colchester, and I'm not moving. I love Colchester.
Or Miami. Yeah.
Absolutely. But
so anyway, sorry.
So that's right. Yeah. So he worked, say, for Juki USA, but 40 odd years ago, he worked for Franklin's.
Right.
He started back then. There was a YTS, Youth Training Scheme, opportunities. So again, he was a bit more of a rogue, I like to say, but a lovable rogue.
Did he have to leave the country?
Well, that's another story off air. That one.
Didn't actually want to be in Miami.
It's what country he kept on leaving. It's like, so 40. My brother started in the industry with Franklin's. When I was 14, obviously still at school, I went in, I cleaned machines, I scrubbed the floors, I made pattern books and things like that, all for some, obviously, money. And then when I was 16, I just said, basically, give me a job.
Yeah.
And that's when then I trained as an engineer. And obviously not just with Juki, because as a company, we literally all makes and models of machines. So I got training throughout the different manufacturers. I went out to, obviously, their companies as well to have their training sort of full hands-on.
And that's why it's so special that you choose Juki.
Yes.
Because having that vast array. I mean, I've played on a lot of different machines because of my job in the past, but not like you have.
And also, it's how things have changed over the years as well, because there's certain manufacturers which we know they built machines in one way, and if you talked to me 30 years ago, I'd be probably talking in a different sort of machine. but how manufacturers then change, where they then change the countries of origin, they change
Yeah.
then their aesthetics on how they're building machines. And then this is the great thing, obviously always dealing with Juki Industrial, and now really for the last sort of 25, 30 years, Juki Domestic. It just makes me appreciate, again, that and I'm going to call it old school quality, is because it's not budget price built machines. It is built, and then you say a price is, that's what it costs to build, and that's what it is.
Juki are the gentlemen of sewing machines.
We like sort of to say on that,
Yeah.
and but also if you're not happy with us or you're not happy with your machine, we're here to contact you. Come to us, and the amount of people who do come to us, and it's easily solved queries and questions, because like anything new, it's just getting used to it, or it's something that you've always done for many years, then suddenly, well, try doing it this way, and then you're just changing a slight little thing that you're doing.
Jan says, many centuries ago, I had a great metal Elna that had oil holes. Didn't like it when I accidentally used fray check.
Ooh.
No, I bet it didn't.
that's right. On that note, don't use spray check.
Yeah, okay.
Try avoid using spray glue near your machine.
Right.
Definitely don't use things like WD-40 on your machines and that as well. It's not a lubricant.
Okay.
On that, it's supposed to be more penetrating to help free things rather than lubricate things and things like that. Sewing machine oil is specifically designed at a certain viscosity, so it's not heavy, it doesn't get gelled up, it doesn't then clog up over time, but also a proper sewing machine oil will be non-stain. So if you do accidentally get some on your machine, it's transferred into your fabric or your threads, it should wash out, it shouldn't stain at all on that. So yeah, many things you shouldn't use. But
Let me just check
our
levels of sewing machine oil, because this is where there'll be a rush for that.
Yeah, but you say even using oil as a cleaning point rather than actually a lubricating point on new machines is something I would recommend. Yeah.
We are out of stock of it. Let me see if I can get some more, because you've had it, you lot.
I know the workshops do carry them in stock, so if we can certainly supply you some, no problem.
Perfect. Well, we'll get by hook or by crook, we will get some. Garry, thank you so much. We always appreciate it. It's just lovely to have you in the building.
That's always a pleasure. Being here, we have fun. It's just great. There's nothing scripted. We could just turn up with anything for the day. And
I think they can tell that, Garry.
and because the nice thing is, everybody can make mistakes. Problems can happen anywhere, but it's showing when it does happen how don't panic. It's usually something very simple which has caused it to happen.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you very much, everybody. Do check out those machines, because when they're gone, how often do we do these shows? Twice a year, maybe?
Twice a year. Yeah. So on that one, and that's if we can say, I know the stocks we had this time. Obviously, last time we had a bit more. This time again, we had a little bit less, and it's what's happening throughout the year. Obviously, what we're doing exhibitions, but they're all yours when they're here.
Yeah.
But we know they go very, very quickly. So,
yeah. And the other thing is that once Garry comes away and off these shows, they might go through Franklin's. That's the only other place
that's exactly. Obviously, we hold them all for yourself, your customers on that, and then obviously, occasionally it's like, oh well, actually we could do with that, or we want that, and then
or they get taken back and used in the shows again. So whilst they are here, please do grab them, and then that's it. Thank you very much. Tomorrow we launch brand new fabrics. We've got brushed cotton from Lewis and Irene.
Nice.
Ready for Christmas. They're super cozy. I'd like to say we'd have summer, but we haven't really had a summer, so
yeah, we're going to get a couple of weeks of summer is going to be nice. We will. We'll all be in Festival of Quilts at that point, so we never see it. But
oh no, it's fine. That's fine. Claire says thank you both. Very informative. Yeah, thank you so much, Garry. We will, obviously this is always available on YouTube, this is always available on Facebook and on our website as well. So you can always access it if you need to check back at any point and watch any of it back. So thank you ever so much. I need to be on the right page to be able to finish all of this. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for watching. It's been epic in all ways. Thank you ever so much. Take care.
Wonderful.
See you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Bye-bye.